Hey guys, PIEGUYRULZ here. We're gonna give this one more try. We tried to stream earlier. There were lag issues. I've run some tests, and things should be better. Uh, I am too stupid to know when to quit. So we're gonna give this one more try. Let me know if you're out there in the chat. I don't know if this pushed out to YouTube, if people will actually see this. This might just be a little secret private stream for anyone that's here. But yeah, if you're here, let me know if you can hear me, if everything is okay. I'm gonna mute the audio on the season 9 video and just play the video and let me know if there are significant lag issues. Yes, hello, hello, hello. Hello everyone. We're gonna give it one more try. If things go horribly this time, then I'm calling it a night. But the stream currently says that everything is excellent. So I think there was like one or two settings in OBS that I had messed up. And yeah, I think that's the issue, and I think I fixed it. No lag. Okay. Okay. So far, so good. Let's see. I do have the stream elements on. I don't have the audio on the episode. We're not gonna watch the stupid intro again. We're gonna mute it while I talk. All right. How about that? Things are perfect. Okay. All right. Great. Excellent. Man. Who knew? Sometimes all you need to do is just like change some settings in OBS, and everything in your life can go great again. It's a metaphor for life. All right. So yeah, we'll have past guy there muted. Let's see. Okay, good. These are here. It'd be really rough if I started this up again and I didn't have all the slides down here. It's your high school graduation tomorrow. I've been watching your content since 2016. Well, congratulations, surprise bike on graduating. The intro was a yap session. It sure was. The video is moving. Look, I know I make my videos out of slides, PowerPoint presentations, but it doesn't have to be a slideshow. We can actually fix it. It turns out you just need to tweak a few things and everything's all fine. Okay. All right. Yeah, you guys. So, look, to summarize, blah, blah, blah. The season took a long time to air. Blah, blah, blah. HD is all purdy. Blah, blah, blah. Plugging spongy bits and all that. That's where we're at. Let's see. Can I crop that out a little bit? There we go. There we go. Okay. I have repeat season 9 slides in the tier maker. I do. I don't see them.
At Ethanlin 3055 sent $10. I'm going to watch The Amazing Digital Circus, the last act on June 4th.
Congratulations. I've heard good things about that series, and yeah, if you're seeing it in a movie theater, that's really cool. If you're not seeing it in a movie theater, that's also cool. I liked hearing you talk about the HD change for SpongeBob. It's not that it's not that it's bad for me to talk about it. It's just that I should have spread the information out a little bit, or maybe even just talked about it at the end of the video, or perhaps had some better visuals going on here. HD is purdy, SpongeBob. The stream, things work now. Yes, yes. The audio is muted. That's intentional. You guys don't want to hear me talk about this again. I promise. I promise. It's more likely than the Muppet Show revival is going to happen. Probably not going to happen. The Muppet Show, I actually have a little soapbox with the Muppet Show, is that fans of the Muppets are always like, just bring back the Muppet Show. Just do the Muppet Show again, but modern. And I don't know that that's... I like the Muppet Show, but I don't know that a series based upon the Muppet Show is going to retain people's interest. Like, people that are super big fans of Muppets, for sure. But for everyone else, it kind of feels like, I don't know. Like, I think doing a special every year or a few special projects is a better outlet for the Muppets than just doing the Muppet Show. That's just my personal perspective. I know a lot of diehard Muppet fans would love to just see a consistent Muppet Show program again. That's the exact same format as the original Muppet Show, but That's just my perspective. I really liked the one shot that they did with Sabrina Carpenter. I thought it was very fun. The repeated slides after Patrick the game. Oh, yeah. All right, well, I'll fix that off screen. We don't need to deal with that now. This was, I don't know. Tier Maker is weird. It was glitching a little bit on me, so I'll clean that up after we're done with the stream. Past Guy is still yapping on. Here, I can, do you guys want to hear him, like, real quiet? Let's see. Oh gosh, unmute.
Of SpongeBob. And while I'm sure some people have judged it fairly and do genuinely believe that, it's likely that
Oh yeah, I also have this soapbox here about like giving these episodes a higher rating because they're like newer and fancy.
And now my usual spiel before we begin. First of all, I have a
Which I don't know if that holds up. I feel like things are biased in both directions. You know, some people are going to look at the shiny new thing and say, ooh, it's good because it's new and I love it. And then there's other people that are going to look at it and say, it's new, I don't like it. It's different from what I got before. In the commentary, the video is on 2x speed.
Episode bad or why Patrick is such a jerk, then please.
But did you get my fan art?
Did I? I've been checking my Gmail pretty regularly. When did you send it? If you sent it, like today, I probably didn't get it. Let me check Gmail right now. Hey, I just got it. Okay, cool. Yes. I will not be able to put that on the stream right now, but we will. I will show that off on stream next weekend. Okay. Just remind me. All right, here we go. Here we go. The actual season reviews. Let's do it. Let's go.
Extreme spots. SpongeBob and Patrick try to prove they are extreme to an extreme sports group. First of all, this episode is a really great way to show off the new animation. There is a lot of action going on here, a lot of different camera angles, a lot of wide shots, a lot of explosions, just a lot going on, and it does a really good job of showing off what they can do now.
At 3055 sent $5. Oh, and by the way, I sent you an email a few days ago.
Yes, I did see it, but you know, I didn't really know how to respond to that. So, thank you for sending in an email. I don't have time to get to everything, but if you have an inquiry about something, if you have some fan art, if you have something you wanted to talk to me about or whatever, please feel free to shoot me an email.
If nothing else, it's a very good-looking episode. Additionally, I like the new characters they got. Johnny Knoxville does a great job as Johnny Krill, and the other two characters are so outrageously extreme they just stick in your head. Not Dead Ted, the crazy one, and Grand Mall Granny, as the elderly person who also participates in extreme sports. So the visuals and the characters are good, but that's about where the good things end. Unfortunately, there isn't really much of a story here. It's one of those episodes that's just about SpongeBob and Patrick trying to prove that they aren't little babies. And that's as far as the story goes. There's not really any ups or downs or twists or turns. It's just SpongeBob and Patrick trying to prove they're tough to these extreme sports stars. And that would be fine if the episode was funny, but the humor here is, well, it's mixed. There are jokes that I like the fact that there's just this inexplicably placed random accent guy, and the names of the extreme sports characters are pretty funny too, but at the same time, there's some humor in this that I find quite dumb. The whole pillow and mattress coming to life and swearing vengeance, yeah, that just felt really out of place to me. Similarly, Patrick licking his brain like an ice cream cone did nothing for me. I will give them credit that they are trying and that there is a number of gags in the episode, but I didn't find that many of them to be funny. Especially the joke that makes the title of the episode. While I like the guy with the weird accent, the whole running thing about Patrick thinking that they need spots to be extreme sports stars and he stings himself with jellyfish and they say,
Not
hey, we
absolutely
have
hilarious.
extreme spots now. It's a lame pun to begin with, but they just keep going on and on with the gag. Yeah, I thought that was pretty dumb. And the other problem with this episode is that we've had episodes about extreme sports before, Pre-Hibernation Week and A Life in a Day. This plot is actually very similar to A Life in a Day. SpongeBob and Patrick trying to prove that they're tough enough to do these extreme stunts. I'm not saying the show could never do another episode about extreme sports, but the fact that there is very little story here and it's a concept that they've done not once but twice before just makes it feel very bland. And if they're going to cover a topic they've already covered before, I'd at least like them to take it in a new direction. Or heck, just be really funny about it. But because it's similar to other stories the show has already done before, as well as the relative blandness of the story, along with the mixed quality humor but really nice looking visuals and entertaining and memorable new characters, I say that this rounds out to about a meh. Unfortunately, it takes a little more than just pretty visuals and some fun new characters for me to give it a good. Thanks to the very simple story, the episode feels
a long
like it
review
drags,
for the first one.
and when I think back to it, although I can remember the characters and the nice visuals, I can't really remember anything else about the episode. Episode 1...
Yeah, I think that was an A-tier review, if we're being honest. I think mentioning my little spiel about, you know, hey, if you're going to be similar to another episode, like, be really funny or kind of take it in a different direction or something like that. I think doing that spiel once at the beginning of the video makes sense. So I don't think it's worn on me like it has towards the end of the Season 8 video. Just wait until we get to the SpongeBob You're Fired. I don't remember that review. I don't remember what I did there. D tier, how dare you? No, we're just doing 9A today. I'm a little under the weather, and the stream... we had some technical difficulties, so we're just doing 9A, but I will be back streaming tomorrow with Mr. Maxwell Adams, so please tune into that if you get a chance. But yeah, I think an A-tier review is fine on that one. And as far as the episode goes, I do vaguely remember it, but I do think that, like, the extreme sport thing has been pretty well covered. Although, ironically, since then, I've become a much bigger fan of Johnny Knoxville. I really like him. I think he's an entertaining guy. I would not want to spend time with him, but he's an entertaining guy. Your SpongeBob You're Fired review was 9 minutes long. Holy cow!
79B, Squirrel Record. Sandy attempts to break every record in the book, with no regard for SpongeBob's safety. So this episode brought back Sandy's robot army from the episode House Sittin' for Sandy. It's always interesting to see what elements on SpongeBob actually make return appearances, as most characters, hobbies, and other elements added to the show are usually just one-offs, with the rare exception. I for one welcome the idea of Sandy having a robot army. Think of the stories they could tell. Maybe Karen would leave Plankton and run away with one of them. Maybe they could malfunction and try to take over Bikini Bottom. Maybe they throw a never-ending stream of pies at Patrick's face. The possibilities are endless.
Atasha 5581 sent $5. The long reviews here were because of 9A being short, so expect all of them to be pretty lengthy here.
Okay, that makes sense. I love how you guys are explaining to me something that I did a few years ago that I genuinely don't remember. Your explanations are helpful to me. When I was talking to Maxwell Adams in preparation for the stream tomorrow, he remembers a lot about Billy and Mandy, like a lot of very specific details that I was very impressed by, because a lot of other people that create things, it's like, it's kind of in one ear, out the other. You know, once you've finished working on something, you have to clear your mind to kind of start working on the next thing. The memory he had is very impressive.
Anyway, back to the actual focus of the episode. Story-wise, this is very similar to Pre-Hibernation Week. So yeah, that'd be 2 for 2 episodes thus far that remind me of Pre-Hibernation Week. But it's true, Sandy wants to do something with SpongeBob, but that something continuously gets SpongeBob hurt until SpongeBob has to do something about it. And like the episode previous, that's about the entirety of the story. It's basically just an extended montage of Sandy breaking records and SpongeBob getting hurt along the way. And while Sandy does break these records in very unusual ways, the episode kind of feels a little bit boring because, much like the previous one, it just doesn't really go anywhere. Sandy succeeds at everything she does. So, outside of the one record that she looks like she might actually fail, the chum one, there's never any suspense or surprise. Well, okay, there's a surprise at the end, where it turns out that everything Sandy did was completely pointless. I wonder how many times SpongeBob has done this. Had an episode where the ending proves that the events in the episode were utterly pointless. In this case, it's fine.
They do love doing that sort of joke at the end of the episode.
It's just a silly comedy ending, but still, it's kind of interesting to think about how SpongeBob has done this a number of times. Anyway, my point is, while it's kind of fun to watch Sandy break these records, it's just not all that interesting. One of the more intriguing parts of the story is that, at the very beginning, SpongeBob takes a Krabby Patty and puts it in his wallet for later, and then around the middle of the episode, he takes it out to resuscitate Sandy after she passes out from eating a bunch of chum. While it was cool that they set up something very early in the episode that paid off a little bit later, it is a bit weird that this wasn't at the climax of the episode. It just happens about midway in. In fact, the chum record was probably the most interesting one. Plankton got a cameo, and it was the one record she looked like she might not actually break, and did genuinely need SpongeBob's help for. I just kinda wish that the whole episode could have been like that. Add in some suspense, give SpongeBob a real reason to be there. As it stands, this is another episode that I think is meh. It's just kind of boring. And though Sandy's actions are amusing, I wouldn't say that anything in the episode is particularly funny. It's just a pretty middle-of-the-road episode. Though I have to say, I really do enjoy what they did with the name of the record book. How it's a mixture of the Guinness Book of World Records and Ripley's Believe It or Not. Episode 1.
Yeah, I think B tier on that review. It was pretty good, maybe a little bit long. Although, I don't remember the episode at all. I seem to vaguely remember that Nickelodeon did wasn't it kind of like an extreme sports week or something? Like they did big promotions to air like a few episodes that were deemed as like, extreme. And I think Squirrel Record and that first episode were a part of it. If I'm remembering it correctly. You like saying though. I sure do.
180A, Patrick Man. Patrick decides to become a superhero in what is the closest thing to this season's version of a Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episode. Yes, this is Ernest Borgnine's last appearance as Mermaid Man, and as such, there is no actual Mermaid Man episode this season. But it is pretty poetic that his last line on the show ever was, "Evil." So this episode has Patrick donning superhero attire, running around, reprimanding people for crimes that Patrick believes they've committed, even though of course they're all just innocent people doing normal things. This is not a new concept for SpongeBob. They've done this before in Shuffleboard.
I know people like this episode. I know. I'm aware of this.
And way back in season 1's Hall Monitor. In this type of story, you're either going to find Patrick's antics to be really funny or really stupid. Personally, I don't find Patrick's behavior to be funny here, and just strikes me as annoyingly stupid. And that, combined with the fact that they've done this story before, is not a good combo. However, I do like the climax of this episode. Once an actual supervillain arrives, and Patrick tries to save the day but fails miserably at first, that part I think is actually pretty funny. There were good gags, it was action-packed, and it made for a pretty exciting climax. But I don't think that saves this episode from being a
SpongeBob episode.
As cool as the climax is, it's
hey, that's that
only
SpongeBob transition. That's a pretty cool transition, not gonna lie.
Minutes of the episode, and the rest of it is just kind of dumb. Patrick's actions here are obnoxious, instead of being funny and charming like SpongeBob's were way back in Hall Monitor. Also, this episode's beginning is weirdly similar to No Hat for Pat, with Patrick talking about SpongeBob's hat and how he gets to go have a fun job, which really just makes me wish I was watching that episode. Episode 180B.
I feel like I explain it decently enough. I think maybe like a C tier. I know you guys disagree with me on the review itself, but I think I explained what worked and what didn't about it. Also, I gotta say, I love these slides. The slide layout for season 9, both 9A and 9B, I think, not to pat my own back here, but I think I did a pretty good job on them. The scum transition looks good, and even just the scum itself, like, let's go back here. If you see like just kind of the shadowing on it, like the effects I put on it gives it like a nice, like a bulky feel. Like it feels like an actual thing in that universe and not just like a little brush tool. I don't know. Also, I yellowed the underwear. Oh God. Or yeah. All right, moving on.
beginning is
Oh, what is that? You sent a gift? Something called flow state. Okay, very cool. I think I turned those on a long time ago, but thank you for the gift. I don't I don't understand it, but there we go. Slide layout is my second favorite. You can compliment yourself. You critique yourself plenty. Well, that's fair. Thank you. Thank you. What do you guys think? What now that we're on season 9, we're almost at the end of these look backs here. What was the best slide layout? Like, what's your absolute favorite in terms of normal slides and in terms of special slides? I kind of, it might be a hot take. I think season 9 might be my favorite. Just both versions of it. I don't know. Season 10's is the best slide layout. I don't even remember what I did for season 10. Oh, wasn't it like a chalkboard? It was like Mrs. Puff, I think. Season 8, yeah, the Gary ones, no, not the Gary ones. The Merryman Barnacle Boy ones are pretty good. Season 7, Season 5. Wow, a lot of different opinions. I appreciate it. Cool.
weirdly similar to No Hat for Pat, with Patrick talking about SpongeBob's hat and how he gets to go have a fun job, which really just makes me wish I was watching that episode. Episode 180B. Gary's new toy. Gary becomes obsessed with a red ball. Oh boy, a Gary episode. Well, if you watched my reviews previously, you probably
Atasha 5581 cent $5 for season slides. I can't decide between this and season 8.
Fair.
At Snazzy RJ
Hey.
became a member.
Welcome to Pie's Pals. I maybe I should make the text-to-speech guy be a little bit faster in how he reads. I don't know.
know that this isn't gonna get a good. And sure enough, it suffers from some of the problems that other Gary episodes have. The biggest problem being just that this feels like every other Gary episode. There's an element of miscommunication with Gary not being able to understand SpongeBob's goodbye. Gary obsesses over something just like he did in Treats. Gary leaves SpongeBob for another character, like in Dumped. SpongeBob tries to get Gary to do something, like in Gary Takes a Bath. Also, Gary only interacts with SpongeBob in the episode. And because Gary can't talk, certain elements of the story are left to be a bit vague. Like, what exactly is this ball? Does it actually have powers? Is it evil? Is it trying to control Gary? Or is this all just made up in his imagination? But, to its credit, the episode isn't annoying and it doesn't really have many bad elements. It's just really samey, and a little too vague on certain points. As far as the humor goes, it's alright. Patrick's brain getting shot out by the laser was definitely more gross and weird than funny. But I thought it was funny how SpongeBob called Gary creepy for making himself look like the ball, as well as how Gary gets rid of SpongeBob by slapping his eye against the garage door opener. And SpongeBob's eyes getting knocked out of his head was a decent gag as well. Another thing I thought was pretty funny was Plankton's random ad on the bench. It has really nothing to do with anything, but just the way that Plankton is lying down and how just out of left field the bench is actually pretty funny. Also, his phone number is apparently 1-800-EAT-CHUM. The episode is about a meh. It's pretty easy to watch, but it's not something I got much enjoyment out of. Maybe someday they can finally break away from having Gary plots that are incredibly similar to previous Gary plots. But unfortunately, this is not that day. Episode
I think that was a C tier review. I don't know. Again, it's. I think it's just because the episode itself just doesn't really have a lot interesting to it, but the review itself was not really that interesting. C, yeah, I think C. C for chum. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to make good reviews out of meh episodes. C or D? Okay. All right, we'll stick with C.
181A, License to Milkshake. SpongeBob must go back to basic training camp to renew his milkshake license. So, if you didn't know, this episode is a big reference to Top Gun. I've never actually seen Top Gun, but that still was pretty apparent to me. And the episode does work as a story on its own in universe. We aren't talking about one of these parodies where the characters are suddenly just completely out of character for the sake of the parody. And for what it's worth, I think the best part of the episode is the 80s montage, which is...
Wait, hang on. Hey, Pie Guy, last year it was revealed that during Season 9A, a short called Order Up was produced, but it didn't air until 2025. Will you review it separately like you did with Sandy's Vacation in Ruins? I mean, maybe. Sorry, I was reading that, and I'm like, oh, wait, you mean like an 11-minute episode was produced that didn't come out yet? But you mean like a tie-in short? Nah, I don't know. Tie-in shorts have always been kind of... Sometimes I'll talk about them, sometimes I won't. I don't know.
a very direct reference to Top Gun. It's fun, upbeat, and fast-paced. Another nice thing about the episode was the climax at the end. I liked that they gave Captain Frosty Mug a weird backstory and how the show suddenly turned up the drama. But on the flip side of things, the entire story was about SpongeBob trying to get a license. And while yes, it is very different than a typical boating school episode in a lot of ways, it is still kinda sad that they still had to resort to a similar plot device. Though SpongeBob does at least reference at the end that
At Pranavro 6370 sent $5. The Danny Phantom theme song was inspired by the Queen song The Invisible Man.
Interesting. I did not know that.
he wishes boating school licenses were as easy to obtain as the milkshake one. Michael McKean plays Captain Frosty Mug, and his character is okay. I wouldn't say he's a very memorable character, but he's not a bad one either. At first, I thought he was going to be a nasty drill sergeant like we've already seen twice on the show, but luckily they took it in a little bit different direction. One thing I didn't like about this story...
I think this predates Better Call Saul. Well, actually, maybe the review doesn't. The air date of this episode does. I don't know if the review does, because that's what I know Michael McKean from. He's Chuck on Better Call Saul.
Was that it never explains why SpongeBob's milkshakes always come out solid. It would have been nice at the end if there was some sort of reveal where it turned out he was putting too much ice in the shakes, or he was using too much syrup, or something else, maybe even something weird and comedic, just to explain why he has this specific problem. Yes, they do have the whole milkshakes come from within line, but still, it would have been nice to have an actual reason for SpongeBob's shakes turning out this way. And also, I don't really understand the point of a milkshake license. Like, okay, it's silly to begin with, but SpongeBob serves the guy a milkshake at the end of the episode before he gets his license back. So is he still allowed to serve milkshakes without the license? Is it just a prestige thing? Is it like a system of honor where only the best restaurants have licensed milkshake people, but everyone else can still serve milkshakes? I know I'm thinking way too much about this, but I think it's a result of this being another story that's really just bare bones. I know it's SpongeBob, so I'm not expecting too much, but I would have liked the story to at least have gone into a little bit more detail, because the comedy in this episode really didn't do anything for me. Yes, SpongeBob failing at making milkshakes and a lot of the weirdness of the milkshake camp was amusing, but I wouldn't say that any of it was funny. Overall, I can see some good ideas here.
Yeah, I feel like definitely is some sort of parallel with the alcohol license. Don't like this review very much. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about this review. I'm just kind of going on.
At Pete of Dawn sent $4.99. Interesting, Michael McKean was in this episode and also Sharks vs. Pods later the same season.
Yeah, wasn't... If I'm remembering correctly, Michael McKean, didn't he get his start on, like, Happy Days or something?
At MediFanatic sent $6. Will you be able to make the season 9 and 10 scum for the super chats?
I don't know, man. We just got 6, 7, and 8. I don't know, maybe. Season 9, I looked into it, and it would require a little bit of work to do. I could do it, but I wanted to get this stuff up and running first. And I don't remember what the season 10 one was, so I don't know how doable it would be. Calbot, I did answer your question. I'm probably not going to just review some random short, to be honest.
Here with the whole Milkshake Academy, and the montage and the climax were nice, but the episode just wasn't very funny, and I feel it just didn't push its concept far enough. This one was close to being good, but I think it is meh. As it stands now, it's a cool novelty that I don't regret watching once, but don't really care about watching again. One interesting note, though, is that SpongeBob's milkshake license first appeared in the episode Yours, Mine, and Mine. So that episode was probably somewhat of an inspiration for the writers to come up with this one. Pretty cool to see a one-off gag inspire a whole episode.
Yeah, I think that's a D-tier review. I don't know. There was something about it that's just like... It just dragged.
Episode 180...
Whoa, glitchy.
1B, Squid Baby. Squid episode
VLC?
was Squidward suffers from a head injury.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if it's going to be a meh review and there's not a lot to say about it or something, I feel like at the very least it should just be kind of quick, you know? Since that was an orb that flew overhead across the top screen spreading scum. It really depends on... So, I mean, like, if you guys want to know, the way I did the SpongeBob transitions on this was that I had these video files that had alpha channels, which enabled there to be transparency, and I was able to very easily just convert them to the appropriate file to put on the Streamlabs thing, to put it on here for stream. For the season 9 one,
At MeVX4 we
it was a
sent
little too long.
$2. Is this the video where you review Nice Try?
No, I don't think so. Nice Try. Now, everyone knows that Nice Try is in its own season. It was one of those weird deals where it's like it's on its own. It's actually season 11-7 has that one.
Somewhat of an inspiration for the writers to come up with this one. Pretty cool to see a one-off gag inspire a whole episode.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sukanzu. I did promise that I'd put your fan art up. I did not show it. I'm sorry. I'll have to show it next stream. I've got the stream all working nicely, and I don't have a convenient way to just get the pictures in. I don't want to mess with anything. I don't want to open too many Chrome tabs or do anything else to add it in. Alpha. You know, how do I pronounce alpha? Did I say it weird? I am a little sick. My nose is a little congested. So, you know.
Episode 181B, Squid Baby. Squidward suffers from a head injury and reverts back to being an infant. If it's one thing the show has taught me, it's that head injuries are always context sensitive. Sometimes you might hit your head and become handsome, other times you might hit your head and become a baby. It really just kind of depends on what's going on in the episode. But jokes aside, this is not a very good episode. First of all, I have to point out that it is similar to Rockabye Bivalve. We've already had an episode with SpongeBob and Patrick taking care of a kid, and that one was actually funny. It's kind of getting ridiculous that almost every episode this season thus far feels heavily similar to another episode. But hey, that's just what happens when your show goes on for 9 seasons. The show kind of calls attention to this as well when Patrick is watching TV and ignoring the baby. The sounds coming from the TV are the same sounds that came from the TV he was watching in Rockabye Bivalve. If this episode was any good, that might be intentionally calling back to a similar episode, but because this episode stinks, it just serves to remind me of something that I should be watching instead. So why does this episode stink like Squidward's dirty diaper? Well, here's the thing. It contains a little bit of everything in terms of things that I don't like about SpongeBob episodes. It's got really infantile humor, especially at the beginning with SpongeBob and Patrick acting like babies. I mean, they've done many childlike and weird things before, but straight up acting like babies out in public? Yeah, that's really weird, even for these two. The episode also features excessive crying with Squidward, and it's similar to another episode, Rockabye Bivalve. It's got a bit of squid torture in there too, and they top it all off with toilet humor. Now here's the thing. Each one of these things in the episode isn't too bad on its own. The excessive crying is relatively understandable, and even though it is pretty similar to Rockabye Bivalve, it's not a direct copy of the episode. It does take it to a slightly different place. The squid torture here isn't too bad, as at least SpongeBob and Patrick are trying to keep Squidward safe, and they do seem horrified when they get him accidentally hurt. And the toilet humor is mostly just isolated to one joke about a poopy diaper, although that one joke goes on for a while, and man, do they make it clear that is a very full diaper. My point is just that none of these things are too bad on their own, but altogether makes for a pretty bad episode. And it's not funny. I could see the episode trying to make jokes, but a lot of it is just really awkward, considering it's, you know, adult Squidward in a baby diaper. I feel like this sort of concept was a lot less weird and creepy in Goo Goo Gas. Yeah, it's a
SpongeBob episode.
It's certainly not unwatchably bad, but it's definitely bad. Though I must admit that there are at least little glimpses of good ideas here and there. There are moments in the episode where Squidward is kinda cute, and I do like that the problem was solved with the ice machine. Typically this sort of thing is just solved with more blunt trauma to the head, but instead of going down that route, they went with something that does make somewhat logical sense, although in an obvious cartoony way. In that ice usually brings down swelling. Oh, and if you're curious as to what that little purple leg down there means, I wouldn't blame you because it's been a while, but hey, the my leg gag is back. Sort of. A character runs away saying, my face, also my leg, but mostly my face. And he's voiced by Mr. Lawrence. Even though it's not a direct use of that one particular my leg clip, that is pretty clearly a reference to the my leg gag, which is pretty cool. I just wish it had been done in a better episode. Episode 180.
I don't think that was an upper crust review. No, I don't know. I think that's maybe an A. I think I went on too long about the leg thing, and then you think I explained? I don't know. I mean, I did kind of explain everything about it. Apparently, I don't hate the episode as much as a lot of other people do. That line was the funniest part. A, epic. Okay, I think A is fine. I don't think it was an upper crust review. It kind of feels a little bit like we're still in season 8, if we're being honest.
At Syndrome 067 sent $1.46. Can you say garbage house in the scary voice?
I can. But will I? I don't know why you want me to say this, which concerns me a little bit, but I'll do it.
At
In one
MediFanatic
sec.
sent $2. This review debuts a new Piken.
Garbage house.
Does it? The little yellow book one? Interesting.
C2A, Little Yellow Book. Squidward reads SpongeBob's diary. So, believe it or not, this episode has a great significance to the every episode of SpongeBob Reviewed series. By around March of 2013, I had done a number of SpongeBob reviews of individual episodes and had concluded that all of the newer episodes of the show were just not good. After doing this, though, I decided that was pretty unfair of me to generalize a bunch of seasons of the show like that. So I wanted to check out one of the latest episodes, and wouldn't you know it, Little Yellow Book.
That's the bad episode ranking for someone else's. Oh, it's for Loud House, isn't it? Okay. All right, cool.
Book was on Hulu, and this was the last episode of SpongeBob I watched before embarking on this journey to review every episode. Yes, I thought this episode was actually pretty bad, but it did make me want to know what had happened to SpongeBob, how we got from season 3 and 4 all the way up to this. And a few months later, I premiered the every episode of SpongeBob Season 1 reviewed video. But enough about me, let me talk about the episode. So the first thing I'm going to point out is that there actually were jokes in this episode that I liked.
At Anthony Collins 2383 sent $4.99. Who do you like better, Billy, Mandy, or Grim, and why? For myself, Mandy is my favorite. I just love how she's a no-nonsense character. Smiley face emoji.
I think Grim, personally. Billy and Mandy are great in that they are very they are very strong characters. Let's put it that way. They are they stick to their guns on things. You know, Billy is very happy-go-lucky and stupid, except for when he gets really mean, and then Mandy is just always mean, obviously. But Grim, I feel like he has the dynamic of he can either be really scary and intimidating, he can be like a kind of like a put upon babysitter, you know, he could be just kind of a lax dude. Like there's a lot of different faces that Grim can wear, and I feel like he kind of helps balance out how strict Billy and Mandy are in their characterizations, personally.
The I had a brother once joke, the stealing a hairpin from Mr. Krabs and his hair going all poofy, the old guy that fell in the toilet. I liked all three of those gags, but those were definitely not funny enough to save what is a
SpongeBob episode.
Otherwise. There's a few things I don't like here, but I'm going to start with SpongeBob's weird secrets. Why does SpongeBob turn into a chicken when he sees Plaid, and why does he get naked when he hears the Bikini Bottom national anthem? What is the reason for these things? I mean, I know, sure, SpongeBob, wacky, weird, whatever, but they made him pretty dang weird in this episode. It didn't make me laugh, it just kind of makes me think that there's something seriously wrong with SpongeBob. Then there's the whole civilians of Bikini Bottom thing. So, when Squidward is making fun of SpongeBob and reading his diary, all of the civilians of Bikini Bottom were laughing right along with him. And SpongeBob even comes out at one point, and Squidward shows off the weird things he can make SpongeBob do, knowing what he knows from the diary. So the Bikini Bottomites clearly see SpongeBob and know it's him, but yet somehow they act surprised that it's SpongeBob later. And throughout the rest of the episode, they throw a giant hissy fit that Squidward read SpongeBob's diary. Now look, I get that this is supposed to be ironic. It's supposed to be like, haha, they're singling out Squidward, even though they're just as guilty. But it's just way too much here. They don't do it in a funny way, they just do it in a really nasty and hypocritical way. Especially Patrick. And yes, Squidward does call Patrick out on this, but that's about all the punishment that Patrick's gonna get. And Patrick is supposedly SpongeBob's best friend. I don't like these elements, but really what I think makes this story fail is that it goes exactly nowhere. Squidward reads the diary and embarrasses SpongeBob, but then after that, all it is Squidward just repeatedly being yelled at by Bikini Bottomites, inexplicably losing his house, and being put in stockades because he dared read a diary. I don't really have a problem with Squidward being punished for doing a bad thing, and I also don't have a problem with the show treating diary reading as if it's some serious crime. But what I do have a problem with is that is what the rest of the episode is. Squidward doesn't change or learn. No one tries to read Squidward's diary. There's no interesting turn here. It's just people being down on Squidward. Yes, he deserves it, but no, this doesn't make a good story. And even when you think he might change his ways, of course, he doesn't.
581 cent $5. Does Paste Guy ooze green slime when you give these reviews a SpongeBob?
If only. I like that the British announcer says Paste Guy. Do you think, oh man, I wonder if I could get a text-to-speech voice that sounds like, I don't know, like the French announcer or something, the French narrator. Could you imagine? Oh gosh. Okay. Anyway, I'm thinking this is an upper crust review, but we'll keep going and see how it lands here.
Because I gotta go with the stupid comedy ending of herder, he's still reading diaries. It's also one of those things where it feels like this episode would be a lot more interesting if it were actual characters calling out Squidward, not just random background fish. Like if Sandy was there and continuously harped on Squidward and made him feel guilty, or tried to get revenge for SpongeBob by reading his diary. Or if Mr. Krabs had gone a little bit further. He does try to make Squidward feel bad, but then after that he disappears from the episode. If you compare it to something like Fools in April, Squidward feels bad and tries to apologize, and the conflict of the episode is that Squidward has a hard time apologizing to SpongeBob. There's a conflict there, there's something actually happening. Here, nothing of the sort happens. Squidward half-heartedly tries to apologize for all of half of a second, but it doesn't even stick. And SpongeBob's whole, oh well, I published the book and everyone seemed to like it and everything is good now, is so fake feeling. With how upset he was earlier, it just means that SpongeBob takes a random left turn just for an even bigger take that at Squidward. I'm not upset because Squidward got punished for his actions. The story bothers me because it goes nowhere and it just spends a very long time calling out Squidward. It's just a really negative episode. The first part is spent making fun of SpongeBob, and the second part is putting Squidward down. There were a few jokes I laughed at, but nothing that redeems the rest of the episode. Oh, and by the way, SpongeBob previously had a diary in boating school and gone. 182B.
Just had to get that in there. No, I think that's an upper crust review. I think I explained it pretty well. Again, my problems with some of the episodes that people don't like sometimes are very different from the problems that they have, that other people have, and I think that's good. I think that makes for interesting reviews. I probably should have talked about the meme. I don't know how prevalent it was at the time that I made this. It might have already came and went, or it might have not blown up yet. I'm not really sure. But otherwise, I think it's a solid review. I was thinking about it. I've been watching a lot of Billy and Mandy lately in preparation for tomorrow, and I was just it's just really interesting that show can get away with so much very mean humor because of the tone of the show. You never ever expect that show to have a heartwarming moment. It's not about positivity. It's a very cynical show. And so a lot of the negativity works really well there. And I was thinking about it, and I think ultimately SpongeBob is supposed to be a positive show, right? It just should be. Not that it should be happy all the time. There can definitely be some mean jokes, and there could be mean moments, and characters like Squidward and Mr. Krabs are definitely supposed to be mean at times. That's totally fine. But I think the overall vibe of the show should be positive. And so to take SpongeBob or Patrick or Sandy or whatever and make them so down and negative in some episodes and make them creepy and horrible, it's just it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It usually doesn't work. I think that's why it doesn't work, is that there's just something about some of these characters that should feel a little bit more optimistic and happy and pleasant, at least at the end of the episode. Where if you were to take the plot of a Billy and Mandy episode and put it on SpongeBob, it just doesn't work, And it's funny because there are several writers like C.H. Greenblatt that worked on both shows. And again, it's there are times where Mandy or Grimm or even Billy are just really over the top mean, and it's funny. It works.
6,370 cent $2. SpongeBob, you're fired is an automatic upper crust.
I hope so. You guys are hyping up this review. I hope it ends up being really good. But yeah, and that's Also, I'm not saying that SpongeBob should never do mean-spirited humor or anything like that. I generally don't believe in saying, like, a show should never do X, Y, or Z thing. But if it's going to do it, I think it needs to really know what it's doing, you know? And all too often, it feels like SpongeBob, the show, is being written in a way that's different to,
At sent $5,
like, the core of it.
much like episodes that focus on stories over comedy, mean SB episodes need to do more to justify themselves since it's not what people are primed for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's people out there, probably some writers that feel like SpongeBob is the kind of show that it could be anything, right? Where the characters can just do whatever you want them to and all that stuff. And I just don't know that I agree with that. I mean, I think if it's funny, it works, but a lot of times it won't be funny because you're too busy being distracted by, like, well, the character shouldn't act like this. Like, this is not how the show is formed, you know? Why are the middle seasons so mean-spirited and dark? Do the writers want SpongeBob to be a dark comedy? Honestly, I don't. I kind of wonder if the amount of writers, the amount of storyboard artists that have come in and out of the show has something to do with it. Just people that kind of come in, do a few episodes, and then get out. They don't know the culture of the show. They just do it. I mean, we can certainly ask Maxwell Adams about it tomorrow. He did work on the Patrick Star show, but like not in a significant role. He came on, he did like 2 episodes, and then he was out.
At Pranavro 6,370 cent $2, which eps do mean-spiritedness correctly?
I think I'm with Stupid does, to be honest. Like, yes, it pushes Patrick pretty far in terms of his characterization, but I just think it's funny. Like I do also see why that rubs people the wrong way. Anyway, let's continue on here.
Bumper to bumper. Mrs. Puff takes SpongeBob to an abandoned road to teach him how to drive. So right off the bat, one of the things I like about this episode is that Mrs. Puff actually tries to teach SpongeBob, and acknowledges that it's his own anxieties that's preventing him from being able to drive. So while it's a bit of an unusual plan, taking him out to just an abandoned highway in the middle of nowhere is actually a good idea. And although yes, she definitely wants to get rid of SpongeBob, she's not anywhere near as harsh as she was the last time she was featured. It does feel like they put her back in the place of being a teacher who's just frustrated with having a student who is unteachable. Which, by the way, SpongeBob was also declared unteachable way back in Mrs. Puff, You're Fired. On the side of comedy for this episode, it is relatively light. There are gags there that I like the cop's sunglasses and mustache coming down from his helmet, as well as some of the gags about the runaway boatmobile, both in the beginning of the episode and towards the end of the episode, but it's certainly not a joke-heavy episode. There are also two elements that felt like they went on for a bit too long. First of all, there's the whole Beavis and Buttfish section, which felt relatively out of place.
Wait, what? There's a Beavis and Buttfish section? Hang on. What does this mean? Did they specifically parody that show, or is it just like two dumb fish kind of chuckling to each other? I don't remember this. What am I talking about here? Huh.
It should have been something that was just kind of a one-off gag and not something that should have continued throughout the whole scene. And additionally, SpongeBob's little hypnotized freakout sequence went just a little bit too long for my tastes. But the story is good, especially the climax of the episode. I think it is a really action-packed and fun one, especially in HD. Being able to show a 10
At Pranavro 6,370 cent $2, this episode is a repeat of Nautical Novice.
I don't remember which one Nautical Novice is, which boating school episode that is. Okay, there is a Beavis and Buttfish parody. Okay, good.
lane highway all across the wide screen really looks cool. And by the way, I love that this show still uses traditional animation on their cars instead of using CG like a lot of shows these days.
I don't know why I had a real axe to grind on like that time period where The Simpsons and Family Guy were using those CGI cars everywhere. I think I guess they were very noticeable and distracting when that first started happening. Now I feel like if you do it, like you could barely even notice. Like they blended in really well.
In fact, a lot of the aesthetics of the episode look really nice, like the desert area or the parts of SpongeBob's freakout sequence. It is another episode that I think really utilizes the HD well. And the episode has a good energy to it because a lot of it is spent inside of a boatmobile, particularly an out-of-control boatmobile. It just keeps the episode moving and makes it very action-packed. And story-wise, it's cool that they set up Mrs. Puff's ankle bracelet earlier in the episode, and that paid off at the end. And I think it was a clever way to send her to jail and null and void SpongeBob's test. So yeah, the story is good, it's action-packed, it looks really nice, it's a little bit light on humor, but there are jokes there, and even though there are 2 parts that I would have trimmed down, overall, this is a good episode. Finally, right? Oh, and one interesting note is that, remember way back in No Free Rides when inside of Mrs. Puff's house there's a picture of her being surprised at the door right as she walks in the door being surprised? It's basically a picture on the wall of the same scene that's happening live. By the way, in that video I mistakenly call it the SquarePants family's house when it's actually Mrs. Puff's. Well, they brought that gag back for some inexplicable reason. And inside Mrs. Puff's house, yet again, is a picture of her sitting on the couch while she is sitting on the couch.
At sent $5, I think nowadays there's much more interest in cartoons and movies experimenting with and combining different styles, mediums, and aspect ratios.
Yeah, that's fair. I think the CGI car thing was just to make it easier on drawing things that have to be seen from many different angles. You know, it's hard to make a car look good if you're trying to like do shots where they zoom around it. You know, like when Brian gets killed in Family Guy. Spoilers.
Has to be one of the strangest and most surreal gags in SpongeBob history, and they decided to bring it back. That's actually pretty cool. 183.
Yeah, I think that's a solid A-tier review. Maybe a little long, but otherwise I explained it pretty well. And for what it's worth, I do remember this episode. Was that really the first good episode I talk about in the season? Really? Oh gosh. Oh boy. So far, though, I feel like we're doing better than Season 8. I think this 9A review has been more interesting.
3A. Eek! An urchin! The Krusty Crew and Plankton must team up to catch an urchin and the Krusty Krab. I'm really amazed that it took 9 seasons for them to do a story about some sort of pest problem in the kitchen. Sure, the Krusty Krab has had fungus before, but this is just a story idea that seems kind of obvious. And I don't mean to say that it's bad, it's just a good fit for a show.
At Hanako Cunty 9B sent $5. How do you feel about shows that are all CGI like Land of the Luscious?
I don't know what show that is. Yeah, all CGI cartoons are cool. I don't have anything against CGI. It's just the blending of it with 2D animation didn't always work super well with the cars back in that era. I'm trying to think of like what my favorite all CGI cartoon is. I think Futurama, not that that's an all CGI cartoon, but that utilizes CGI very, very well. The cell shading on it makes it just blend really nicely. And they've used it basically since the series began. Probably Jimmy Neutron, right? I'm trying to think, like, has there been a CGI show in the past, like, 10 years that I've really liked? I don't know. What CGI shows have there been? I know there's Amazing Digital Circus, right? People talk about that. I still haven't seen it. I probably will once it's all over. Oh yeah, Invader Zim also used that really nice like cell shaded CGI. Ninja Turtles 2012. Okay, yeah, I didn't see that one, but I've heard good things. The Star Wars Clone Wars show. Okay, yeah, from what I saw of that was pretty good. Fair enough. Yeah, no, not Fanboy and Chum Chum.
About a guy who works at a fast food joint. One of the things I really like about this episode is the camaraderie between 4 characters who are kind of enemies with each other. Plankton working with Krabs, Squidward working with SpongeBob. It's not stuff you see super often, so it's cool to see all 4 of them coming together to defeat a common foe. And there's never any backstabbing by Plankton, though Krabs kinda does leave him for dead. Another thing I really like is the urchin itself. I love how it's animated, I love its big cartoony tongue, I love its purple outline, I love how fast it moves. Though there has been urchins on the show before, particularly in Nature Pants and in a lot of the backgrounds on rocks, we've never really seen this much of any given urchin.
I don't have Egan Urchin on the tier list. Okay, watch this while I add it. Hang hang on. Let me do this real quick. No, not that. Not that. Actually, yeah, sure that. Sorry, give me 1 second while I add Eek and Urchin to the tier list here. Sorry about that. I thought I set this up all correctly, but apparently today is the day of technical difficulties. My body is also having a technical difficulty, but I'm feeling all right. I'm feeling just a little congested at this stage. If the urchin ran away, eek. What happened? I forgot to add this to the tier list, so I have to just real quick put up a BRB thing because I don't want you guys seeing my file systems. This is episode 183A. Let's see. There it is. Boom. Submit. Okay. And welcome back to the show. Oh, actually, hang on. Pop that over there. Submit it. And here we go. Okay. Welcome back. Eek, more technical difficulties. Oh, and then VLC quit on me. Darn it. Come on now. Oh, we were doing so well, guys. Well, I guess I'll use this moment to, again, just promote the fact that tomorrow I will be live streaming with Maxwell Adams, creator of Billy and Mandy. It's very exciting. I'm super hyped for it. And all Super Chats tomorrow will be going to Maxwell Adams.
Natasha 5581 sent $5. Off-topic question. How would you rank Butch's shows from worst to best, if you remember them?
I think it's mostly the reverse order that they came out, right? Where Bunsen is a Beast is the worst. Then Tough Puppy, which is, like, it's got some merit, but is also kind of bad. And then I really like Danny Phantom, but I do actually kind of think that Fairly Odd Parents is the better show. Like, the best parts of the Fairly Odd Parents. Although, if taken as a whole, you know what? I'll put Danny Phantom at number 1 and Fairly Odd Parents at number 2. By the way, I think Guy Moon passed away not too long ago. The composer for those shows. Very, very sad. But anyway, Maxwell Adams will be on the stream tomorrow, and all of the Super Chats are going to him, and in return, he's going to draw a PyCon for us. So it's one that we will use. Probably going to be the Devil one. I feel like that's appropriate for Mr. Adams. So, yeah. Okay. Anyway. Where were we? Hello? VLC, you wanna play, or are you done? Oh, you're muted. That's what it is.
Cool. 183A. Eek! An urchin! The Krusty Crew and Plankton must team up to catch an urchin in the...
At Nostalgialodian 9305 sent $4.99. Hey P Guy, would you ever consider live streaming
I'm not P Guy.
Tunes Unite games and maybe replay the first game as a live stream?
My name's not P Guy. Yeah, I mean, there's a chance. I don't know. I think I'd rather play the newer video games that are coming out. But it's true. I never did end up streaming the other 3 Nicktoons Unite games. I think it would be fun to stream one of those with Shadow, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm not P Guy, all right? Oh god. Here's a game, everyone. Try to see if you can, if you're gonna do a super chat, see if you can get the guy to say Pie Guy correctly. Like, try to spell it differently than PIEGUY in order to see if he'll actually say it.
At Pronavro 6370 cent $2. Favorite Danny Phantom episodes?
Oh gosh. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I really like the Christmas episode. Everyone knows that because that's Will Arnett, baby. But the Ultimate Enemy also felt really really big at the time. I like the one with the giant like plant monster too.
At
Thought that was
cent
fun.
$2. Pie Guy.
Hey. Okay, well that challenge accepted and passed. Good job. I will heart your comment because you got him to say that correctly. So just, put a space between Pie and Guy unless you want me to be P Guy. VLC crashed again.
Micah Weedle sent $1.99. Pie Guy.
Okay, so that works as well. Really just anything other than the way my name is usually spelled. Perfect.
Are ya ready? Giant twist to lighten the tone. If the episode is any bottom or planet, it's just meh. Would much prefer sitting on the couch. It has to be one of
We're never gonna
Krusty
get through
Crew
this.
And Plankton
Okay,
must
here we
team
go.
up to catch an urchin and the Krusty Krab. I'm really amazed that it took 9 seasons for them to do a story about some sort of pest problem in the kitchen. Sure, the Krusty Krab has had fungus before, but this is just a story idea that seems kind of obvious. And I don't mean to say that it's bad, it's just a good fit for a show about a guy who works at a fast food joint. One of the things I really like about this episode is the camaraderie between 4 characters who are kind of enemies with each other. Plankton working with Krabs, Squidward working with SpongeBob. It's not stuff you see super often, so it's cool to see all 4 of them coming together to defeat a common foe. And there's never any backstabbing by Plankton, though Krabs kinda does leave him for dead. Another thing I really like is the urchin itself. I love how it's animated, I love its big cartoony tongue, I love its purple outline, I love how fast it moves. Though there has been urchins on the show before, particularly in Nature Pants and in a lot of the backgrounds on rocks, we've never really seen this much of any given urchin, and I like the redesign here instead of going with just a black dot with some lines sticking out of it. And I like the comedy in the episode, especially involving the urchin. I like it bouncing off of Mr. Krabs' tongue, bouncing all around SpongeBob, almost getting eaten by several Krusty Krab customers. Its weird crush on Plankton. It's all pretty funny. It's a good episode. There's a lot to like here, and I think it's been the funniest episode of season 9 yet. The only thing I don't like about it is the ending, and that's because it's just one of those really obvious endings, and it goes on for a bit too long. Yes, SpongeBob went all the way around the world and ended up back at the Krusty Krab where he releases the urchins again. Duh. This gag has been done before on the show. But that's just the ending, and that's the only bad thing I can say about the episode. Also of note is that this is the first episode that had the HD SpongeBob opening. It didn't have it on first airing, but a rerun of this episode was the very
Past Guy, please stop talking about the HD stuff. All right, it's good. You said it. It's good. Move
first
on.
one to have it. Though I will be talking about this more in season 9B,
Oh,
because
no.
technically it didn't premiere until we were already into season 9B. Episode 183B.
Yeah, I think that was an A-tier review. It loses some points because it is basically just listing things I liked, but I don't know. I think I explained pretty well what worked about the episode. So yeah, season 9A review in HD.
At Pronavro 6370 cent $2. These reviews are a lot more lengthy than usual.
They are.
Natasha 5581 cent $5. Paste Guy loves his HD visuals. You should know this.
Oh gosh, yeah, these reviews are a lot more lengthy. I think someone mentioned because there just wasn't as many of them in the season, I felt like I could kind of go all out, which is fair. Like, why not, right? If people are expecting these videos to be long, so I think I shouldn't drag it out. But if I have enough to say that can kind of fill it up, I should. And yes, Paste Guy does love his HD visuals. I only mentioned it like 86,000 times. Paste Guy and P Guy. That's me. It's like Sonic, right? It's like there's classic Sonic and modern Sonic. There's Past Guy and there's Paste Guy and there's P Guy. And that's us. Oh gosh. Anyway, yeah, no, I think I it is a topic I find interesting, but it's also something I don't need to go so long about. And I also see how it's not interesting to some people. I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I tend to go on long tangents about things that only some people care about, and especially watching these back, I've really realized, like, man, I gotta rein it in a little bit. Like, a little bit of tangent is fine, but you know, that's why we do these live streams. These live streams, I could go off on a. What you guys want to talk about? I don't know, Converse sneakers for 45 minutes. Just kidding. I don't know anything about them. I don't wear sneakers. Sneakers are for the weaker. This is just kidding. I don't have any problem with anyone who wears sneakers. I just don't wear them. You're in a Discord, voice chat with some of your friends in the Sonic community as you're watching this.
Atasha 5581 sent $5. P-Guy Generations, coming in 2037. You have the 2D Paste Guy stages, and the 3D Pie Guy stages. At Pranavro 6370 sent $2. Looking forward to The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Nice.
At Sana Powers 9036 sent $2. Guy prefers classic Simpsons being cropped to 16:9.
Okay, all right. There's a lot happening there. Yeah, P Guy Generations coming up very soon. I'm glad you're looking forward to The Mandalorian and Grogu. Personally, I just don't really care. I might end up seeing it, but probably like on streaming at some point. I've never been a giant Star Wars fan, and I don't know, nothing about the marketing's really reached out to me, but hopefully it's good. And thank you, Zane. I absolutely do not watch The Simpsons in the horrible widescreen version. Thank you very much.
Squid defense. Sandy and SpongeBob teach Squidward karate for self-defense. So the very first thing I have to point out is that this episode is very similar to Karate Star. A new character learns karate, then uses it to do bad things. And while the details of the story might be different, the same basic concept is there. Even the title card is similar. It makes me wonder if there's going to be an episode in the future where Plankton learned karate off screen and Krabs needs
Dawn sent $4.99. Funny story, I recognized Chugga Connery at Disney World cause of his signature Converse sneakers.
Well, that's crazy. I don't know that I could recognize him, to be honest, out in the wild. Also, I like that the voice thing can say Chugga Conroy correctly, but it can't say Pie Guy.
to learn it from Sandy and SpongeBob so that he's able to fight Plankton in some sort of big competition.
Did that episode happen yet, by the way?
The Karate Crab or something.
Did we get the Karate Crab? Is that a thing yet? Technically, Plankton learned Karate by Sandy in modern SpongeBob. Have I seen Courage the Cowardly Dog? Of course! Of course! Come on now. Love Courage.
At Pranavro 6370 sent $2. The Way of the Sponge review should be SpongeBob.
Which one's the Way of the Sponge review?
At
Did we already do that?
RJ sent $2. Future Guy.
Thank you. Or we might not have gotten to that one yet. Oh, they haven't done it. Wow, there is a Karate Plankton though. Okay.
Really have a huge problem with them reusing the X character learns karate episode, but though it's not that big a negative, it's not a positive either. And besides being similar, the story itself is very predictable. I was really hoping that the tough guy was going to turn out to be an actual tough guy, but no, of course, it was just a wacky misunderstanding. And the episode does the whole Karate Kid thing of, you gotta master these mundane tasks to be good at karate. But it really doesn't put too much of a fun SpongeBob-y twist on it, it's just Squidward doing chores. And the episode isn't even funny. The only thing I kinda sorta laughed at was Tangled Squidward, where he gets all his tentacles stuck to him, and SpongeBob saying he should have named Gary Scary, if only because of how lame a joke that was. I really didn't think this at first, but after dissecting each part of the episode, I have to say,
SpongeBob episode.
A light one, to be sure, but there's so little comedy, the story is predictable, and there's no fun twists on it at all. It's just an episode that really adds nothing. I would much prefer to watch Karate Star. I should point out that this is finally a Sandy and Squidward episode, but that's somewhat ruined by the fact that A, SpongeBob is there the whole time, and B, they don't really play with that at all. Not like in Perfect Chemistry, where they kind of have fun with the pairing of Plankton and Sandy. Here, they just kind of treat it like it's a normal thing that Squidward and Sandy hang out. It's definitely not the buddy cop movie that I had imagined, though there is crime fighting in it. Without that stupid twist ending, this would be at least a meh, but because it's there, it deflates a lot of the tension and intrigue that was happening in the beginning of the episode. Once you know that he's never—
Guys, I have to add these slides. Apparently I messed up and didn't have these slides added to the tier list either. So I put you in the void for a second. All right. We're still here. I'm still here. We're all fine. We're all fine.
In any danger, or you just assume it like I do because it's super predictable, the episode just becomes tedious, like it's building up to a non-event. I wanted to like this episode. It's got Squidward and Sandy in it together, there's a decent justification for why Squidward wants to learn karate, and I'm usually a sucker for these karate episodes anyway, but it's just so bland. It's not one of those super awful episodes with really obvious bad things in it, but there's really very, very little here that I actually enjoyed. 184A, Jailbreak.
What do we think of that review, by the way? I was a little distracted. I wasn't 100% paying attention to it. Great review, at least an A. Yeah, no, I think it was a pretty solid one. I feel like it's another maybe controversial opinion. B tier? A tier? A or B? B tier. All right, let's go B tier on that. Yeah. I gotta say, though, I think so far the Season 9 review is better than the Season 8 review. Why is no one talking about Invader Zim? I mean, I don't think it's relevant to what's going on, but fair.
That's Sukanzu 945 cent $2. William Angel reviewed every episode of Simpsons.
Wow. Well, good luck to them. That's pretty crazy. I like he doesn't do it in the same way that I do it, but I really like the Real Jim's Simpsons seasonal reviews, like retrospectives or whatever he calls them. He doesn't review every episode, but he does give like a top and a bottom list, and then he also gives like an overview of kind of like trends in the season and general vibes about it. What is the name of a popular Roblox game? I am over 30 years old. I do not know anything about Roblox, and I intend to keep it that way until my child is old enough for me to tell them, no, you can't play Roblox. Just kidding. Anyway.
Plankton and his fellow inmates utilize the power of chum to break out of prison. Fun fact, Plankton's prison number is 655321, and that would be your useless information of the day. It's very rare that we get to actually see Plankton in jail. That hasn't happened too many times on the show, and the only one I can remember off the very top of my head is the beginning of Krabby Road. But it makes sense.
Oh, you were joking because there's a game called Jailbreak.
Is a criminal, and presumably Krabs occasionally calls the cops on him. And it's refreshing to see a different location. Sure, we've seen prisons on this show a few times before, with doing time being the most obvious, but definitely not very frequently, and it's nice to have another episode set there. It's also pretty cool that all the criminals idolize Plankton. I did not see that coming. I expected everyone to hate Plankton. It's a nice subversion, and it really does help us see that despite his numerous failures, Plankton does have street cred in the seedy underground. And the reason is pretty funny as well. The fact that everyone just inexplicably uses chum to commit all their crimes because it's such an awful, awful substance. So yeah, I like the story, and it's a decently funny episode as well. The guards all filling in the wall and then finding out they're stuck like that, as well as a lot of Plankton's lines like, "Are we at the airport?" when there's a fist heading his way with an airplane sound effect playing. That's not a super funny episode, but it's funny enough. It's a good episode. It's a very different feeling Plankton episode, and it's a lot of fun, with a lot of really creative elements. Oh, and it's also really cool to see all of the designs of the criminals. I like that they went with an assortment of creatures instead of just making them all generic fish. Oh, and while I'm on the subject, apparently Plankton got over his fear of whales, but I really don't think anyone would mind that an episode contradicts the events of One Course Meal.
Sent $2, middle G guy.
Episode 184B.
Middle G guy. Middle-aged guy. um, for this review, yeah, I think maybe a B tier. I don't think I did too well about it. I don't know. It's just perfectly fine. A tier? Really? I guess it was a pretty, like, a pretty snappy review. I say what I like about it. Don't drag things on. A tier? All right. I'm cool bringing it up to A tier. Let's do it. Middle G flat guy.
Evil spatula. Plankton uses a
I am not 35. Thank you very much.
mechanical spatula to trick SpongeBob into revealing the formula. So, we've already had an episode where SpongeBob loses his spatula and has to get a new one that turns out to be a jerk. Though there are superficial comparisons between this and All That Glitters, they're really not that similar and they go in very different directions. However, the direction this goes in is just not very good. Plankton's plan is complicated, sure, but it's not like it's really clever or that interesting. Plankton disguises himself as something to earn SpongeBob's trust and trick the formula out of him. They've done that a lot. And the way Plankton is foiled is just really anticlimactic. Plankton has this crazy elaborate plan, and all that it needs to be ruined is SpongeBob mentioning that the spatula belonged to Plankton. Plankton doesn't do anything crazy to reveal himself. SpongeBob doesn't figure it out. No, all it takes is Krabs hearing that the spatula was from Plankton, which, I mean, yeah, you'd be very suspicious if it was from Plankton, but that's a really lame way for his plan to be foiled. Though Mr. Krabs tricking Plankton into using an explosive material to brew the formula, and the subsequent explosion, was actually a pretty good way to end the episode, and I especially like the moment that Plankton realizes that the jig is up. They have a nice little beat before the explosion where you could just see on Plankton's face that he knows he's in trouble. As far as
$6,370 $2, LS Mark hated jailbreak.
Really?
other things I liked, there's really not too many. I do like the setup at the beginning with Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob.
At Ethanlin 3055 cent $5, what do you call a laughing motorcycle? A Yamaha ha 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 ha.
Oh, that's so dumb, but I love it. That you genuinely made me laugh. Good job.
Washing the dirty money, because it's just a very interesting and unique lead up to the episode that makes sense for Mr. Krabs. And there's also a moment of the Krusty Krab customers being ravenous, which was pretty good. Otherwise, everything else about it is standard. Not necessarily bad, just standard. This isn't a great story, and there's not really too many comedic moments. But I also wouldn't necessarily call it bad.
At Asha 5581 cent $5. Did you ever try out the SpongeBob meal that Burger King and Wendy's had?
No, I don't think I did. When was that? Was that more recent for the latest movie or for like the first movie?
It's just meh. To be honest, I wasn't that far off from calling this a SpongeBob. It is similar to a lot of other Plankton episodes, but there were just enough little amusing things in there for me to bump this up to the meh. And I really don't have much to say beyond that, other than the fact that I found it really gross that SpongeBob has no problem using his spatula to clean Gary's litter box. Sure, he's done some unhygienic things on the show before with food, but that one just strikes me as really gross. And not too much later, he uses it as a toothbrush as well. Ugh. Episode 180.
What do you guys think? Do you guys like when I say the fun fact out loud? I don't know. I think after how repetitive I was with certain things in like the season 3 video, I kind of tried to not repeatedly say things like fun fact over and over again. I tried to weave it into the review sometimes, and then other times I would just let the slide speak for itself. I know some of you are fans of that. C tier review, D tier review. I think it's a C tier review, to be honest. I think it was a perfectly normal review. Sometimes I like it. I mean, to be fair, I think I need to come up with some better fun facts if I'm gonna go through the trouble of reading them out. As of right now in the Fiona and Cake video, I am not reading out the fun facts, but I might add it in. I'm not sure yet. If it's a fun fact, sure.
5. It came from Goo Lagoon. Plankton hijacks a mysterious goo blob to use as a weapon. After how great Season 8 did with its multiple science fiction inspired episodes, it was nice to see that Season 9 brought it back in special form. Although if you think about it,
at MediFanatic sent $6, your artist originally had the SpongeBob smile picon from Just One Bite look like SpongeBob with buck teeth and yellow skin, but you hated it.
Yeah, it was creepy. It was very creepy. But to be fair, I was the one that would, I guess, colored it yellow. I did all the coloring. So I think I tried it that way, and it looked really disturbing.
It's a SpongeBob Christmas is actually a pretty science fiction-y plot as well, with a mysterious substance that everyone thinks is super harmless and ignores the scientists' expert opinion until that blob turns evil. Well, I guess it doesn't really turn evil so much as Plankton is, and he started piloting the thing. Anyway, this is a really fun episode. I like what they do with messing around with the goo in the beginning. SpongeBob and Patrick bouncing around on it, Squidward using it as hair, just all sorts of little wacky things they do with it. It's a really nice way to start off the episode. There's also a nice build up to the mystery of what these goo blobs are and exactly what they can do when Sandy starts going on about how they're dangerous and they could potentially destroy all of Bikini Bottom, which ultimately turns out to be a very big exaggeration. The worst the goo blob does is just make a big mess everywhere, but still it provides a lot of tension and excitement in the episode, which leads into a fun chase.
You find it interesting that the Fiona Season 2 vid will be in this format, and I'm not doing Season 1 first. Because it wasn't going to be. It was just going to be a general review of Season 2 of Fiona and Cake, but I realized, I'm like, you know what? This is close enough to an every episode review. I might as well just make it in every episode reviewed. And Season 1, it's like, I was so far into working on Season 2 that if you guys want me to review Season 1 first, I could, but then that means that the Season 2, there's no new videos for months, so it doesn't make sense. I understand how, from an outside perspective, it looks weird that I'm not reviewing Season 1 first, and I definitely considered it, but I want to get the Season 2 video out, and I think Season 2 is much, much, much more interesting to talk about than Season 1.
And Sandy and SpongeBob coming up with ways to try to save Bikini Bottom from this goo blob. It's really got all the pieces. Action, fun, excitement, tension. I wouldn't say it's quite as good as the Krabby Patty that ate Bikini Bottom or Planet of the Jellyfish, but I do think it is a good episode. It's always cool to see Sandy
Fanatic sent $2. Will you stream lights, camera, pants? The game?
As I've mentioned, I'm not that big into streaming older games at this point. And I also don't have it. I still don't have it. So, probably not. But maybe.
taking charge and kicking butt. Heck, even Patrick is actually kind of funny in the episode. Sure, he's stupid, but in a more childish and less mean way. On the comedy side of things, it's not a really funny episode, but there is a nice amount of jokes in here, and they're spaced out nicely between the action and the fun of messing around with the goo. Jokes like the goo coming out of the water and into the water, Patrick calling his new friend SpongeBob, Sandy and SpongeBob stealing Squidward's bicycle only to take it like 3 feet to her tree dome. Also, I'm amazed that this episode didn't end with SpongeBob absorbing the big goo blob, but in this case it was solved with bubbles. So I guess I'll amend my statement and say that everything is solved with absorption and bubbles. The biggest failing though, I think, is the ending. The fact that the goo bubble pops and it turns out that it just covers everything in goo. After all the buildup, I was expecting, I don't know, maybe a little bit more. I know it's SpongeBob and I know that covering everything in goo is a big threat to Bikini Bottom, but still, after all the effort spent trying to make sure this thing doesn't pop, having it just pop and then not be that big a deal, yeah, it's a bit of a letdown. This is another one of those comedy endings, and I get why they decided to do it this way. I don't think it's awful, but I do think it kind of cheapens the episode to show the bubble actually popping and having it not be that big a deal. Episode 180.
What did we think of that review? I didn't think it was bad, but I didn't think it was great. Like I think maybe like a C tier. I don't know. Part of it, I feel like I'm too defensive too about the like, I know it's SpongeBob, but maybe it should have a story. It's like, yeah, I mean, it should have a satisfying story. We watched this thing for 22 minutes. It should end on something, you know, it should have a good climactic moment. It shouldn't just end on a joke or something, you know? No music for it? There was music. A tier, B tier, C tier, B tier. All right, I think it's time for a poll. What do you guys think? So we got A tier, B tier, C tier. I'll put D tier, but I don't think it's D tier. Star poll. And I'm going to mute myself while I blow my nose. Be right back.
At crash_neon_official sent $1.99. According to Matt Pat, the goo is crushed up fish.
Oh boy. Wow, that's dark. You know, I was actually, before I started the stream, I was watching a video with my wife about someone trying to eat all the characters in SpongeBob. We didn't get very far in the video, but I'm like, I don't think you can legally eat whale. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure you can't. How long did it take me to create these SpongeBob reviews? Honestly, way too long. Months. Months. Let's just put it that way. It looks like B tier wins. And I'm okay with that. Let's go. Oh, did I put it somewhere already? I put it in C. You're getting bumped up.
Atasha 5581 sent $5. Paste guy really can't decide if good story, bad comedy is bad, or bad story, good comedy is bad for SpongeBob.
I mean, it depends. It always depends. But I don't know. I think treating 22-minute episodes as judging it a little bit more seriously story-wise, I think is warranted. You know, I think an 11-minute cartoon, if the story is dumb but the comedy is good, is fine.
370 sent $5.
But not for 22
what
minutes.
Makes classic SB not get stale, boring or repetitive as opposed to future seasons/eras?
That's a great question. I kind of feel like a lot of it has to do with just the amount of jokes that each episode has. How fast paced and jokey it all is in that you can watch an episode and catch little things that maybe you never caught before. I think that's kind of it, and it's just kind of like a noted fact that after season like 4, even the amount of jokes just slow down. Like, you can argue about whether they're good jokes or bad jokes, or the episodes are still good or bad, but the fact is that I think this is like an undisputable fact, but maybe I'm wrong. I just think the people working on the show had less time to work on each individual episode once SpongeBob went from being just like a cartoon that was successful to Nickelodeon's bread and butter. You know, I just feel like they just weren't given enough time to really punch it up. You know, the Simpsons writers, they talk about how in the early days of the Simpsons, in the classic era, they were pulling like late nights and working way overtime and, constantly, eating meals at the office to make the jokes as best as they could.
55 cent $10. I heard there's going to be a Tintin sequel, but this time it's going to be directed by Peter Jackson. This will be his first feature film since The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies.
Oh, I don't know anything about Tintin.
Fanatic 5118 sent $1.99. You're completing with Fox's AD block again.
Is this a complaint or just letting me know? I mean, I guess it makes sense. I probably shouldn't stream during a time when animation is, on, I guess. But as I've said before, like, this is one of the prime times I have to stream just because of my child and my partner watching the child, Anyway, but yeah, so the Simpsons writers, they talked about how they worked like ridiculous, insane long hours, punching these episodes up to be the best they possibly could. And while it resulted in amazing television, these poor guys were run ragged. It was not good working conditions for them. And I certainly wouldn't want the people behind SpongeBob to be pulling all-nighters, making the episodes amazing. Like, they still need good working conditions. Perhaps if Nickelodeon didn't ask for so many episodes, then there could be a little more time for it and still keep things humane, But I guess it is not necessarily a fact, because I don't know for sure, but it seems pretty clear to me that that's what happened, is that there was just less time to work on each individual episode, which led to less jokes, which means that they're just like not as rewatchable. I don't know anything about Tintin. I don't think I know anything about it, to be honest with you. Peter Jackson's a great director. The Hobbit films were not the best, but it's cool that he's doing another thing. I'm sorry, guys. My nose is getting really runny. Let's keep going here.
E6A, Safe Deposit Crabs. Mr. Krabs gets trapped in a bank vault. This episode feels like a whole lot of wasted potential. Mr. Krabs being trapped in a bank vault and SpongeBob and Patrick having to break in to rescue him both sound like good ideas, but they don't really do much with either of them. And I guess it's because the episode's attention is split between too many things. They have to set up what the bank is in a commercial, and then there's a bit of Mr. Krabs trying to get into the bank and getting kicked out repeatedly. So by the time he finally gets trapped in the bank vault and then SpongeBob finds out about it, there isn't really
$6,370 $2. Have you seen Sausage Party?
No, I have not, and I don't have any interest in doing so. But I know Monsters, I think Monsters liked it. If I'm not, I don't mean to put words in his mouth, but if I'm remembering correctly, I think he actually liked it.
much time for either of the two stories to play out. SpongeBob and Patrick breaking in amounts to basically two different methods: trying to go in through the roof, which leads to them being ejected from another building, and them trying to break in through the front door when the manager opens it up. And that's it. It's not like there's a bunch of plans. It's not like either of these plans are really that interesting or fun or funny. There's just not much to it. And then as far as Mr. Krabs being trapped in the bank vault, he makes a woman out of money and starts dating her, okay, and then all of a sudden it transitions to him thinking that he's trapped on some sort of deserted island with her, and there's a giant money-eating monster and the island's on fire, and he starts going insane. This is because, according to the episode, Mr. Krabs is running out of oxygen, but I don't get why they had to go with this deserted island thing. Was there so little ideas for what to do with Mr. Krabs in the bank vault that suddenly have to transport him to another deserted location? Why not have him get lost inside a jungle full of money? Or maybe he loses that one penny.
You guys are making fun of my fun fact here. I mean, it is a fact. It's true.
So much for at the beginning of the episode amongst all the piles of money, and has to go searching for it, maybe learning some sort of lesson about sentimental value over financial value or something. I don't know. There's a lot of ideas that they could have done with this, but they really just don't do that much. And the ending is disappointing.
$6,370 $2. The picture should have been Mrs. Greenbeck.
Yeah, probably.
The solution is that the bank manager just lets SpongeBob in and frees Mr. Krabs. SpongeBob's attempts to break in mean absolutely nothing, and Krabs doesn't really do anything to try to escape his situation. So from a story perspective, not a lot actually happens. As far as things I liked about the episode, I liked that Pearl tells SpongeBob to just call Mr. Krabs because it's such a simple, mundane solution and it makes a lot of sense. It's especially great with Pearl's reaction and acting like this was incredibly obvious. Also, Mr. Krabs' butt sticking out of the safe deposit box was kinda funny, I guess. That's really all I've got. It's not an abysmal episode, but it just is so lacking in every way. It's not funny, the story seems to be too split up, and it just doesn't run with its premise. I'm gonna say it's a
SpongeBob episode.
This was another one that I think was pretty close to meh, because I don't strongly hate it, and it's not like there's any elements that are really bad or really annoying or really frustrating. It's just an episode that does not come together in any way. If they had focused on SpongeBob and Patrick breaking in, then yeah, they probably could have told
Atasha 5,581 cent $5. How about when you say a fun fact, you make up icon that's just based on the nerd emoji, nerd face emoji? At Pranavro 6,370 cent $10, SpongeBob SquarePants. You've asked me to do several crazy things in the past, but breaking into a bank has to be the coolest.
That's funny. How about I just get rid of the PyCons and just use emojis? Everyone would love that, right?
told a better story. Or if they had just focused on Mr. Krabs inside the vault, then you
But seriously, having a specific PyCon for fun fact is not the worst idea.
probably could have done a lot with that too. But the episode just doesn't have that much focus. And really, above all else, it's just boring. Weak story, weak comedy, and I found myself just not really caring. Oh, and fun fact, this is Pearl's first appearance in season 9, but it's definitely not her most major appearance. 186B.
I'm really saying the fun facts a lot more here. You guys didn't like this review, did you? Did you not like it just because you don't agree with it, or was it not a great review in general? I don't know. I'm not really sure where to put this one. I think my gut instinct would plop it in C, but I could be convinced to go D tier if people think so. SpongeBob for the fun fact. All right, guys, listen, it's not the worst fun fact. D tier, A tier.
At Sana Powers 9036 sent $2. Use the Rick Pycon for fun facts.
Such a cursed Pycon. I think the review was all right. It's a C. All right, enough people are saying C. I'm happy to leave it at C.
Plankton's pet. Plankton adopts a pet amoeba. Hey, where's Spot? Oh, there he is. Out of all
Interesting. I like the idea of that joke, but my delivery on it was pretty bad. I say it with like no emotion. Let's try that again.
It's in season 9, but it's definitely not her most major.
Natasha 5581 sent $5. No, P guy, you don't understand. This is a SpongeBob fact.
SpongeBob
Appearance. 186B. Plankton's pet.
VLC, what are you doing?
Plankton adopts a pet amoeba. Hey, where's Spot? Oh, there he is. Out of all
you know what? That was like a last minute idea, probably. That was something that I was like, yeah, that'd be cute if I did that. I like the idea of it, but it should be like, it should have been more like, hey, where's Perry? There should have been more emotion to it, Hey, where is Spot? Something like that, obviously.
all the characters that had personality changes after the first SpongeBob movie, Plankton has definitely been affected the absolute least.
6370 sent $5. SpongeBob mentioning Gary could have been a nod to Gary's new toy.
He's stayed pretty in character and fun the whole time. However, the one downside of Plankton is that almost all of his stories revolve around him wanting to steal the formula. And though there's been many clever twists on that over the years, and of course I don't want them to stop doing those episodes altogether, it is always nice when they do something a little bit different with the character. Like the time he traded places with Krabs just to see what it would be like, or whenever he has to team up with Krabs. It's always really refreshing and fun to see something like this, an episode that, yes, does reference stealing the formula, but for the most part is just about Plankton finding a different hobby and doing something else. I mean, heck, the beginning of the episode is basically about how Plankton has nothing else going on in his life, and SpongeBob suggesting he gets a hobby. And I think that his character works really well here. Just because he's evil and steals the formula doesn't mean that he can't have a genuine relationship with a pet. And Plankton works as very sympathetic in the episode without feeling like he's out of character. At its heart, it is just a basic boy and his dog story. Plankton learning the ins and outs of caring for a pet, the pet runs away, Plankton desperately tries to find the pet, and then winds up in danger himself, and the pet saves the day. It is very simple on paper, but the episode works so well, thanks to Plankton being a fun protagonist, and how sincere and sweet he is in the episode, as well as how likable this little amoeba Spot is. They made him really cute, and I like all the little bits they have with him being tiny and getting squished, and being able to multiply his cells to get bigger. Sure, they could have just gone with a worm or something, but this works out so much better because it is original to the show. But it's not just about how likable the characters are here, it's also about how funny the episode is. A lot of the stuff at the beginning with everyone thinking Mr. Krabs is torturing a baby when it's really Plankton in a mechanical suit, that's actually really dang funny. As well as Plankton accidentally crushing Spot and thinking he killed him. These are morbid jokes for sure, but they're funny. It's a basic story that just works really well thanks to how likable and enjoyable the characters are, how it puts a character in a situation we've really never seen before, and just how funny it is. It's a very good episode. And I think it's really great that they sell us on this idea that Plankton really does care for this pet, to the point where even when Spot ruins his chances of getting a Krabby Patty, the most Plankton does is want to punish him for about 5 minutes. Also, I like that there really isn't much of a twist in the episode. Yes, there's a little one with it turning out that Spot was on Plankton's cornea the whole time, but there's no like giant twist where Spot was actually just a mechanical pet designed by Plankton to just steal the Krabby Patty formula, or that this whole thing has been a ruse to try to distract SpongeBob.
Wouldn't it be fun idea if Spot and Gary became friends and went on a wild nightly adventure together and Sandy narrates it?
I don't know why Sandy would narrate it, but a Spot and Gary episode sounds like it'd be very natural. 100%. What do you guys think? Is this an upper crust and an A tier review? I could see arguments for either.
or something stupid like that. I'm glad that they did keep the focus of the episode on Plankton getting an actual pet that he is genuinely bonding with and not just using as a means to an end. I would much rather have a genuinely sweet ending and episode overall like this than them trying to do some sort of stupid comedy punchline at the end, or making Plankton unlikable for the sake of jokes. Oh, and fun fact, apparently SpongeBob mentions losing Gary for 8 minutes. I was really hoping it was going to be a reference to Have You Seen the Snail, but instead they decided to go with a gag of how comedically short a time it was that SpongeBob lost Gary. 187A.
I'm kind of leaning towards A, just because I kind of went on a little bit long at the end there.
At David Tremer 7994 sent $2. I found it interesting. Spot slowly joins the slide.
Yeah. No, I like the slide bit. I just feel like I should have acted a little more. I should have done a better selling of that joke. Is that actually a real episode, by the way? People are saying it's a real episode where Sandy narrates Spot and Gary. Huh.
Atasha 5581 sent $5. The next thing you know, someone is going to tell you that you and other popular SB YouTubers are in a new episode.
Yeah, I can't wait for that episode where SpongeBob is walking around town and like 5 middle-aged guys are following him around, reviewing everything he does. Mr. Krabs, these people are following me. They keep saying what I'm doing is bad. Oh, me boy, they're YouTube critics. You just gotta stop being interesting and they won't pay attention to you. Oh gosh. But anyway, yeah, no, I think Spot being added to the cast makes sense. Like, of all the ideas and characters and things that you guys tell me come back and I'm like, ugh, whatever. This one is one that I'm just like, all right, yeah, Spot's cute. He works. I think, he's someone that like Gary could play off of. All right, it looks like this is getting an upper crust. I'm down with that. If you guys want, this can be made into a short. We gotta actually figure out what the next short should be. I don't know if we're gonna do one this week, just because I got a lot going on this week for YouTube stuff, but yeah, I'm not sure which one we're gonna do next. Gotta figure it out. Yeah, the Nostalgia Critic was in an episode of SpongeBob. That's true. I mean, he was parodied in an episode of SpongeBob. Mr. Krabs, I'm scared. They won't stop calling me ScumBob. They're saying that Squidward's being tortured. What should I do? And then Patrick just like farts on the critics or something. I don't know. Okay. Are You Happy Now should be the next short. That'd be a pretty good one. I think doing another season 7 one and then doing like 2 season 8 ones would probably make sense. Do something like that. Smooth Jazz at Bikini Bottom. Yeah, people really did like that review. It's true. All right.
Don't look now. SpongeBob and Patrick get spooked by a scary movie. So this episode is basically split into 2 parts. There's the whole setup with SpongeBob and Patrick watching the movie, walking home, getting scared, and annoying Squidward, and then there's the second part where Squidward decides to dress up like the villain from the movie and torment SpongeBob and Patrick. As far as the first part goes, it's a little dry. I would have liked more comedy and a little less screaming. Though the screaming here isn't that bad and totally justified in story, there could have still been a little bit less of it. And it feels a little bit drawn out with them seeing the movie twice, having SpongeBob walk Patrick to his rock, and then Patrick walk SpongeBob back to his pineapple. It does just feel a little bit slow and a little bit too much like it's set up, especially because there's been plenty of other episodes with SpongeBob and or Patrick being scared of something, like when SpongeBob was scared of the horror movie in Crabborg. No, what I see as the real draw of this episode is Squidward essentially becoming a slasher villain and scaring the ever-loving tar out of SpongeBob and Patrick. On the surface, this sounds a lot like Graveyard Shift, but in that episode it was just Squidward telling a scary story. In this one, he's become the scary story. And I really like that aspect. I think this is something that makes sense for Squidward. It's understandable that he'd be annoyed by SpongeBob and Patrick screaming all over the place, but he obviously takes it way too far, and in my opinion, he gets what he deserves at the end. Especially with the extra irony that SpongeBob and Patrick are trying to save Squidward from from this villain. There are a few decent gags in the episode, like how over the top the kissing scene was, and the fishhook digging in Patrick's nose, which is actually a surprise because I'm usually not a big fan of nose-picking gags, but something about the way this one played out actually worked pretty well. But overall, it's not a very funny episode. I think it rounds out to be about a meh. My favorite part of the episode was when SpongeBob and Patrick were trying to rescue Squid from the fisherman. What makes that scene extra fun is that they play the "Now That We're Men" music from the SpongeBob movie, as SpongeBob and Patrick decide to become heroic, and it actually works as a really nice motif. I wish they would do this in other episodes and have it play whenever SpongeBob and Patrick.
I feel like that's a pretty good illustration of how far my slide design has come. For the really, really MS Paint looking SpongeBob movie review slide.
Did something particularly brave. However, the dumb thing about this is that I think
Pranavro 6,370 cent $2. Hey look. It's Slasher McGee.
played the music, not because of its ties to the SpongeBob movie, but because it's kind of a football anthem and SpongeBob and Patrick were making a football play at the time. I really hope they went with it for a direct reference, but knowing how this show is, I doubt it. And unfortunately, I think this was just a really nice coincidence. It's an okay episode. I think it's worth checking out once to see Squidward's appearance, but there's not really enough here to warrant a rewatch. Episode 1.
I think that was a nice A-tier review. And I like the eyes. Someone pointed out. I don't know. I guess I did this because this is how they do it in the title card, right? With the the little eyes and look.
Unfortunately, I think this was just a really nice coincidence. It's an okay episode. I think it's worth checking out once to see Squidward's appearance, but there's not really enough here to warrant a rewatch. Episode 180.
I'm not dunking on MS Paint, by the way. It's just the aesthetic of MS Paint specifically, not not actually using it. Again, I'm not great at like hand drawing things, and I'm not great at I guess mouse drawing things, but I've gotten okay at using the pen tool, which is where we're at. Like if you notice a lot of this stuff, these are just like shapes. Like these are kind of simple shapes that I use the shape tool and the pen tool to do, and then these are used with the kind of being drawn, but it's hard to mess that up. And I don't know if you guys can even notice, but if you look very closely, there's actually a pattern on the, here, let me see if I can, there's actually like a pattern here, like a light pattern on the background. I don't know, I put a lot into this one, you know? I tried my best. Okay.
7B. Seance Schmeance. SpongeBob summons ghosts that refuse to leave the Krusty Krab. It's always ghosts with this show, man. Why can't we get, like, an episode with a mummy, or a vampire, or a swamp monster or something? Why is it always ghosts? And this one doesn't even have the Flying Dutchman in it. So yeah, that's my first gripe. It's similar to other Ghost episodes. It reminds me a little bit of Ghost Host, and they use the music and at least one ghost design from Ghoul Fools. I wouldn't say it's a ripoff of any of the other episodes per se, but it is a little bit similar. Additionally, outside of the very opening, I didn't find this episode funny at all. Yes, I did like the really cheesy, weird soap opera about ghosts and toilet paper, but that was about it. I don't know, maybe SpongeBob reading from the sacred text of a mustard label was kind of funny.
That's true, we did have Nose for Octo, that's very true.
As well, but that's being pretty generous. So it's not funny, and it's another Ghost episode. Do I have anything good to say about it? Well, I like Mr. Krabs kicking Ghost butt at the end. I wish there was a little bit more of that, but that was still pretty cool. And the story itself is decent. I like the setup, in that they introduce the concept of a seance and give SpongeBob a good reason to do one, all in pretty short time. And in fact, the whole episode is actually paced pretty well. There wasn't really any point that I was bored. Did I like it? No. But I also can't say that I disliked it either. If only I had a rating for that. Oh yeah, meh. And in terms of individual aspects of the episode, I find a lot of them to just be middle of the road. The character
PIEGUYRULZ was the last human alive using the troll face unironically.
of Rusty and his weird sandwiches are just eh. I don't find them to be funny or good, but I don't find them to be bad or too boring either. Though those sandwiches are definitely really gross. 188A. Kenny the...
I think that's a solid B-tier review. Pretty decent.
At Hanako Cunty 9B sent $2 as your local ghost. Ghosts are cool.
They are cool. I guess it kind of makes sense that there's a bunch of ghosts on SpongeBob, right? Like ghost ships are found at the bottom of the sea. Ooh, Davy Jones' locker, all that stuff. Fun fact: Pie Guy is responsible in Swamp Mates because he asked for swamp monsters. Could you imagine? Like, what are the odds that someone who has worked on SpongeBob has seen even like a minute of one of my videos? I'm kind of torn between thinking it's like impossible and there's no way, and thinking like just statistically, so many people have worked on SpongeBob that maybe they have. Like, I don't think they're taking ideas from me or anything, but just that someone from SpongeBob has come across one of my videos. It's entirely possible. It's technically possible, but I don't know. If the show goes on long enough, maybe someone that grew up watching my videos will work on SpongeBob. Who knows?
Cat. SpongeBob idolizes an athlete with a secret. So
Atasha 5581 sent $5. SpongeBob You're Fired is coming up, and even though it's a long review, I think it's good in an investing sort of way.
If it's the last one of 9A, I believe, right? Like, so it'll be interesting to see if I go out with a bang on it.
At Pranavro 6370 sent $5. Kenny the cat's name came from Tom the cat and Tom Kenny the actor.
Huh. Interesting. If that's true, that's interesting.
this episode is weird. It's weird because SpongeBob is not known for taking on real-life issues. Sure, they might have morals every now and again, but it's usually the generic be kind to others sort of message. It's not the type of show that I would really expect to cover the interesting and complex issue of athletes cheating, because yeah, that's what this is a metaphor for. If the episode had just been about an athlete cheating, then I wouldn't say that it's being particularly topical or referencing real-world issues, but because they go into the whole argument of, well, even though I'm cheating, I'm making a lot of people happy, and a lot of people look up to me, so it's okay, and it's a good thing. It definitely seems like they're trying to specifically reference a real-life issue here. But of course, it just takes the side of cheating is wrong and cheating is bad. So although it is kind of topical, it's not like it's really too political or complicated. Anyway, about the quality of the episode itself, of course I'm gonna point out that this is not the first time that SpongeBob has idolized over a character who turned out to be less than a hero. First, there was Kevin from I'm Your Biggest Fanatic, and weirdly enough, Patrick also calls SpongeBob out for his creepy obsession in this episode as well as that one. It's another one of those cases where it's not a huge deal that this episode is similar because it is taken in a different way. Whereas Kevin was a horrible jerk to SpongeBob, Kenny the Cat is just a dirty cheater. But though it may not be a ripoff, the episode is just meh, for reasons I'm about to explain. First of all, the episode is very poorly paced. There is a lot of buildup, and it does make sense to have it be like that to an extent, because you do want to build up how much SpongeBob likes Kenny, but at the same time, because they built it up so much, there wasn't really much time for the main conflict of the episode to actually play out. He arrives at the Krusty Krab, SpongeBob almost immediately finds him cheating, they have a discussion over whether or not SpongeBob is going to tell, Sandy busts him anyway, and then bam, the episode is over. Kenny being revealed as a big cheater really didn't actually amount to much. A bunch of people just walked away disappointedly. There really should have been maybe a little bit more to it than that, and if the setup wasn't so long, then they could have definitely put something else there. Nextly, there's the issue of comedy, and that the episode isn't very funny. Yeah, okay, there's maybe one or two jokes I like SpongeBob breathing a bunch of water into—
I'm glad you guys agree that this is just a weird episode. There's just, I think just having an anthropomorphic cat in SpongeBob just doesn't feel right. Like, I know Sandy is a main character, right? Like, that is what it is, but I don't know. There's just something about the way Kenny is. The chimps at least were in the tree dome. I think just, I don't know. There's just something about the cat that's just really weird.
Squidward, or Mr. Krabs thinking that Kenny's been inside his wallet, but most of those jokes are at the beginning, and the episode kind of stops being funny after that. Which leads me to my next issue. It's a little bit melodramatic. When SpongeBob—
6370 sent $5. Can we stream the Schneider's Bakery videos after the SB reviews are done?
No, guys, come on. I really don't want to be too much like just reliving old memories, you know? I think that these were very fun, and I think we'll leave it at the SpongeBob season reviews, and we'll look forward to new content. I think it's a very fun plan for upcoming streams. We're gonna continue to do the Cosmic Shake. We're gonna hopefully have some cool guests on the live show again, like Maxwell Adams. And I also have this pretty fun plan. We're gonna review things together on stream, and I'll just leave it at that. I'll leave it at that.
Discovers Kenny's big secret and then has a passionate discussion over whether he should reveal it or not. The show takes it just a little bit too seriously for my liking. The episode needed to be more comedic in general, but those particular scenes should have been a little bit more comedic to lighten the tone. And this is part of the reason why I feel like this episode was trying to be like a ripped from the headlines type story. But because it's SpongeBob, which doesn't have any layer of complexity, it doesn't really do that good a job at that. I don't mind there being a more serious conflict, but please at least throw a few jokes in there to lighten the mood. But after saying all of that, I find myself in the same position I was when talking about Seance Schmeance, in that although it doesn't really do many things right, I can't really say it does much wrong either. Sure, it might not be paced out in the greatest way, but it did hold my attention through and through. And it was interesting to see an animated cat on the show for the first time. Plus, Bismarcky does a pretty good job voicing him, and I do like that very first scene, which, like I said, had
sent $2. Chance for old school rants/TV logs on second channel.
Well, I don't know. It's possible. I was kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the second channel. Originally, some of the stuff I had planned for it kind of morphed into things that we're doing on stream now instead. But I'm not against the idea of just using the second channel to maybe just kind of go down rabbit holes with you guys. Sometimes I stumble across weird information on the internet, and I'm like, I kind of want to talk about this for like 5 minutes. So maybe we'll do something like that.
some decent jokes in there, and that's why I believe it to be a meh. It has a few problems, and does a few things right, and I do especially like Patrick being creeped out at SpongeBob's obsession, because he voiced exactly what I was thinking. Episode 188.
I think B tier is probably correct for this one. Oh yeah, rest in peace to Bismarcky. Oh man, that guy has a very unique voice. Low A to high B. Yeah, I think somewhere either in the A or B. It went on a little long, but I discussed some interesting things. It's not often that I get to discuss kind of real world issues in SpongeBob reviews, to an extent. B tier. All right, let's do it. Boom.
B. Yeti Crabs. A snow monster terrorizes the Krusty Krab. Before I get into the episode, I want to point out that this episode aired exactly 1 year after
Yeah,
Kenny...
can we give it up for my artist for that Yeti crab, because that is amazing. That's not traced. That's just like completely hand drawn. She did that. So, yeah, awesome. Awesome art. Honestly, the art in this season especially is really good, I think.
the cat. And those are the last 2 episodes of Season 9A. It took them a whole year to air 2 episodes. Like I said at the beginning, I understand why Nickelodeon held this one, because they probably weren't entirely sure when the new episodes made after the second SpongeBob movie would actually be finished. So holding this one to make sure they had it just in case the ratings for Nickelodeon dipped really low and they needed to air it was probably a smart idea. Anyway, as far as the actual episode goes, it basically boils down to one thing that happens again and again and again and again. SpongeBob doing chores around the Krusty Krab. At first he does them just because he's a good employee, and then he does them because he's afraid that the Yeti Crab will eat him if he doesn't. But that is seriously what the bulk of this episode is, and I didn't find these chores to be funny, but all of them were done in at least mildly amusing ways, even if it was a bit repetitive and a lot of these tasks I've seen SpongeBob do in other episodes. And if Don't Look Now was kind of similar to Graveyard Shift, then the plot of this episode is actually very similar to Graveyard Shift, where it features a character at the Krusty Krab telling another character a story in order to scare them, and then that thing that they were telling the story about just so happens to show up, which causes a big misunderstanding. Ironically though, this episode has the opposite misunderstanding happen, where it's a real monster that Squidward doesn't believe is real. Again, it's not too similar, but it doesn't really get any points for originality there. As far as the Yeti Crab itself, it's pretty cool. I like the design, I like its mannerisms. I wouldn't say anything about it is really great or really interesting, but there's nothing wrong with it. That's right, it's another meh episode. It's not funny, and the story isn't great, but at the same time, it doesn't really have any problems outside of that, and I was at least mildly amused by what happened. It just could have been a little bit more interesting and a little bit less repetitive. My favorite part has to be the fact that Squidward actually did decide to try to stand up for SpongeBob, saying that even though he's an idiot, he still doesn't deserve to be treated poorly, which is kind of ironic considering Squidward dressed up as a horror movie character to scare SpongeBob only a few episodes ago. All in all, middle of the road stuff.
I think that's a B tier. I think for a meh episode review, I said a lot. I said what needed to be said. All right. So, everyone has been hyping up this last review of SpongeBob You're Fired. We're only 58 minutes into this video. There's 2 hours left on it. We're not doing part B today, by the way. All right. Is everyone ready? Anyone have any last thing they need to say before we get this going? Because once it's going, it's just gonna go. We're gonna let it run the entire time. All right. Here we go.
Episode 189. SpongeBob, You're Fired. I didn't feel like writing a description because it's pretty much in the title. Ooh boy, this is a bad episode. Buckle up, guys, because this is gonna be a long review.
All right.
Let's just go chronologically here. First off, let's talk about the reason SpongeBob is fired. It's because Mr. Krabs can save a nickel. Yeah, it's a stupid comedy, hurdy-dur, Mr. Krabs is cheap joke. What's annoying about this is that this is the event that sets in motion this whole episode. This also sets up SpongeBob being pretty bummed out for the rest of the first half of the episode. It's a big deal, and the show treats it like a stupid joke. I don't mind Mr. Krabs joking about him being fired with the pink slip and all that stuff, but I am bothered by the reasoning because that is a plot point. It makes me not want to take this story seriously because of just how stupid it is to fire SpongeBob over such a small amount of money when it's obvious that in the long run he should be making a lot more money by employing SpongeBob than by not employing him. Like, imagine if in the SpongeBob movie, instead of Mr. Krabs not allowing SpongeBob to run the Krusty Krab tube because he was too immature, but instead because
It would save me a hay penny.
that would be stupid. The reason why they didn't do that was because that was an important point that set up the whole movie. Mr. Krabs' decision there had a lot of weight to it. Not only does it set up the plot, but it sets up the core theme of the movie of SpongeBob feeling like he's looked down upon for being childlike. But here, it's just a dumb joke. Even in Can You Spare a Dime, when Squidward was fired over a dime, at least in that instance, it was not just because of the dime, but because Mr. Krabs thought he was stealing, and because they had a big argument about it. It was more than just literally a dime. And that episode was only 11 minutes long, not nearly as melodramatic as this, and that one was, oh, I don't know, funny? Honestly, I think if SpongeBob was going to be fired, Model Sponge did it a lot better than this in how it was a wacky misunderstanding. Sure, that episode is far from perfect, but it's better than this one, and I'd much rather have it be a misunderstanding than him being
6,973 cent $5. Here you go, Chad P. Guy. My favorite SpongeBob
you.
review you made. Scumbob. 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 I really hate SpongeBob, you're fired. Upper crust review.
Thank you.
fired for an incredibly stupid reason. Alright, so after that, we get Depressed Bob Bummer Pants. Unlike Are You Happy Now, at least SpongeBob's depression here isn't trying to make light of the actual mental illness, and is instead more depression in the way of something really bad happened to him and he feels sad about it. But just because it's not offensive doesn't mean it's not awful. While it makes sense for SpongeBob to be miserable about what happened to him, none of it is funny in the slightest, and it goes on for several minutes. He doesn't snap out of it until halfway through the episode. Again, comparing it back to Model Sponge, at least in that episode they made SpongeBob get over it relatively quickly because it's just a bummer to watch SpongeBob be this miserable for this long. Comparing it back to the SpongeBob movie, at least there they made SpongeBob be bummed out in a weird, funny, and unusual way, having him get kind of drunk and instead of just being miserable, being really belligerent and grumpy. Here, he's just so low energy energy and just so depressed. Not only is it not fun to see SpongeBob be like this for this long, but it also makes the episode's pacing become really slow. Because everything SpongeBob does, he does it in a slow, drawn-out way. Realistically, if this was your dream job and you lost it, you would probably be in the same boat. But remember, this is here to entertain us, and SpongeBob is not a drama. You have to be very careful in making your protagonist be this unfunnily bummed out, and make sure it doesn't go on for too long or isn't obnoxious like it is here. So SpongeBob being miserable really ruins any potential that the whole fun employment bit could have actually had. And wow, great, Sandy, you're doing things that are incredibly unethical. That's just wonderful. In the second half of the episode, SpongeBob decides that he needs to get a new job. So of course he goes to all the food places, but uh-oh, all SpongeBob can make is Krabby Patties. Because that's never been done before, and the worst part about this is that it's not a montage, it's not a bunch of quick cuts, it's a long drawn-out thing of SpongeBob going to restaurant after restaurant after restaurant where the same thing happens every time. It's as monotonous as Atlantis SquarePanus. Having a character do something 4 times with the same result every time is not an interesting story. You have to vary it up a bit or put it in a montage or something. So after all that, SpongeBob goes home and goes to feed Gary, but he doesn't have any snail po, so he makes his own, which turns out to be like a Krabby Patty because that's all he can make. Oh, wait, no, that would make sense. Instead, he makes really good tasting snail food, which leads to nothing at all. This whole scene of SpongeBob making snail food has nothing to do with anything that happens in the episode. You think maybe it's gonna set up that, oh wow, SpongeBob can actually make snail food, so maybe he'll go to work at a snail food place? But no, that's not what happens. So the show just contradicts itself in saying that he can make something other than Krabby Patties for exactly no reason. And then after this, SpongeBob gets kidnapped by the hot dog guy. The one who thought that SpongeBob turning his hot dogs into patties was an abomination? Yeah, apparently he served them to his customers and they loved it. This directly contradicts what actually happens earlier in the episode where he throws the patties on the ground and kicks SpongeBob out. But hey, who needs consistency? Who needs logical sense? It's just a wacky SpongeBob cartoon. No, it's not for the sake of a joke. SpongeBob doesn't point this out. It's just an inconsistency because they didn't care. And instead of just hiring SpongeBob, this guy decided to kidnap him because there's no reasoning. There's none. There's none whatsoever. I don't know. He didn't want to pay SpongeBob. Maybe it was all a ruse. I have no idea. Because this twist is stupid. And then the pizza guy rescues him. But uh-oh, the pizza guy wants to kidnap him too. And so does the Chinese food guy and the taco guy. Which leads to all these fast food mascot guys fighting it out over SpongeBob. Which, incidentally, is my favorite part of the episode, but only out of context. In context, it's incredibly out of left field and so far away from what was supposed to be the initial premise of this episode. The scene itself is alright, but its placement in the episode is just
At
baffling.
Crash_neon_official sent $1.99. Is that Plankton's wig on the taco shack there?
SpongeBob is rescued by a Krabby Patty mascot who turns out to be Squidward, and surprise of all surprises, the Krusty Krab was horribly run without SpongeBob, because that has never happened on the show and wasn't the most obvious way to bring him back to the Krusty Krab. Look, I get it. It's obvious to everyone that he's gonna end up back at the Krusty Krab at the end of the episode, but that's no reason to just completely phone in the excuse to get him back. Come on, do something different. Give us something better than this. It's a
SpongeBob episode.
And you probably saw that coming, right? But didn't I make the ride to get there enjoyable and interesting? Even though where I was going to end up was pretty obvious? If only this episode did that. But no, this is just abysmal. The episode has no focus, with random scenes that have nothing to do with anything. A completely awful reason for the story to even happen in the first place. Is stupidly melodramatic and slow, and almost everything that happens in it feels so been there, done that. Even the name of the episode is very similar to Mrs. Puff, You're Fired. Was there any good jokes in here? I have no idea because I was too distracted by how awful this story is. And the ending to the episode was the most bland and predictable thing to ever happen in SpongeBob. And by the way, had exactly nothing to do with the events of the episode. You could show the beginning of the episode, do a time card that says 1 day later, and then show the ending of the episode, and you would lose clues, exactly 0 information. Great story, right? Where everything the protagonist does has exactly nothing to do with the main conflict. I'd be willing to bet that this episode came about because Nickelodeon wanted something that was going to guarantee them high ratings. The fact that it has a super attention-grabbing title like SpongeBob, You're Fired, combined with how awful the episode is, really makes me feel like this was an executive's idea and that the people working on this episode did not want to be working on this episode. And it really stands out given the fact that there is nothing else this season that is anywhere near as bad as this episode. I feel like I need to take a break from the show after watching this 3 times. It really is that bad, and one of the worst of the series. And that.
Wow, that was really good. Oh man, that might be like my favorite review in all 9 seasons that we've talked about, or I guess 8.5 seasons we've talked about. That was so good.
At Pronavro 6,370 sent $5. I was appalled when I first saw this episode. The sheer laziness and lack of a modicum of care present throughout is astonishing.
Yeah, I mean, I had the theory in that review about how this was like an executive's idea, right? And the people kind of didn't want to make this, but I guess it's also possible that just in the process of like working on the second SpongeBob movie, they were just so busy that it just fell through the cracks. Like I don't know. I don't know what happened, but yeah. Yeah, no, this one can't be a short, unfortunately. I don't think. I'd have to edit it down to 3 minutes. You think if I could edit this to 3 minutes, I would make it a short. We'll see if I could do that.
Atasha 5,581 sent $5. Insert absolute cinema with Pie Guy's face plastered on.
Maybe I make it a short in 2 parts. I don't know. If I could somehow edit it down to 3 minutes and put that as a short, I will.
That is every episode of SpongeBob Season 9A reviewed. I'm not even going to bother wasting the time to build this up. This half season is meh. It's meh in the same way that Season 4 is meh, in that there's a lot of meh episodes, most of the good episodes aren't actually that good, and most of the bad episodes aren't actually that bad. I'm only going to...
I remember a lot of... Oh,
at Ethanlin 3055 sent $5. Your review of SpongeBob You're Fired is your magnum opus.
I mean, maybe. Oh gosh. Let's see. Remember a lot of reviewers taking the snail food thing very seriously. Like some of them said the entire series should be changed to that instead of going back to the Krusty Krab. That's funny. Yeah. That episode is just so bad. It's just so bad. I don't know. Maybe I could just take it and just post it as its own video. But it's I think the 9A reviews, I guess we could take a look here. We didn't have any SpongeBob reviews. Oh, sorry, any
SpongeBob
reviews. We had 1 D tier, which fair enough. And then a lot of it was just kind of middle of the road. I think that's more reflective of just kind of how neutral this half of the season really is than anything else. I think it was a much better bunch of reviews, I guess, than season 8.
Compare it chart-wise to the other meh seasons because that's what's really interesting. And you're going to want to ignore the numbers on this and just look at the charts because those are of course full seasons and this is only a little under half of one. And percentage-wise, this has more meh than any of the others. This isn't very surprising though. The longer a show goes
at Pronavro 6,370 sent $2. SpongeBob You're Fired versus Squire Boys.
I mean, I've seen Choir Boys recently, but I have not seen SpongeBob You're Fired recently. We are not watching that, guys. We're done with that. I don't know. I judging off of my review, I honestly think SpongeBob You're Fired might be worse, to be completely honest.
On, the more difficult it is to not repeat yourself and to come up with some fresh ideas. There are a lot of episodes this season, almost all of them in fact, that remind me of another episode or a few other episodes that the show has done before. This isn't always an awful thing, but it's a surefire sign that your show has gone on too long. And it's not purely the fact that they're similar to other episodes that's problematic, it's the fact that they don't bring new things to the table as well. Is 9A better than Season 8? No. Honestly, I think they're about the same. There is absolutely overall less frustrating elements in 9A and 8, but the problem is that the humor still just isn't really there, and most of the stories are just too weak to stand on their own without the comedy. And while I give the show credit for at least staying consistent and not having 9A be worse than 8, personally, I don't think season 9 is the big second coming of good SpongeBob. Well, the first 20 episodes.
The second coming of Sponge Jesus. Oh gosh. Yeah. I think review wise, I know everyone loves the Choir Boys review, but I think the SpongeBob You're Fired one was better. I think you could tell I'm pretty frustrated by it, but I don't dip into like super anger, I guess. Like I don't know. Like I think I straddle that line very nicely of like I'm not just like some angry reviewer just like screaming about something, and then I'm also not mellow about it because it's a bad episode. It's a very bad episode. It deserves a little bit of anger, right? I think so.
Anyway, we still do have all of 9B to cover.
Oh, we
but
do.
Before that, I want to talk briefly about the new HD title sequence.
No. No more HD. Bye, guys. Stop it.
So with the show switching to HD,
Oh,
it pretty much
gosh.
had to have a new theme song. It just kind of looks bad to have the theme be in standard definition and the show be in high definition. It also leads certain
I also don't remember this background at all. What did I make? Did I make this just for this, I guess?
people at Amazon to think that the show is broadcast in 4:3
Ah!
instead of widescreen and completely screw up the aspect ratio, thus smooshing some episodes. But I digress. As I said when talking about the switch to HD in general,
We're not
SpongeBob
doing
is a show
9B,
that really
no.
tries hard not to
Is this part of the 9B review technically? Okay, we'll stop here then. We'll stop here. Oh gosh, PyCon 1.0 cameo. No, we're not doing 9B. Okay, so we'll stop here.
Atasha 5581 sent $5. Tisk tisk tisk. Typical paste guy and his HD obsession.
All right, I didn't know we slipped into starting 9B. I'm sorry, everyone. All right, we'll start wrapping things up here. I do like the fact that I kept it. I did like an hour at 8. Like that's pretty good for the first half. I feel like it's long, but it's not too long. You know, for the amount of episodes reviewed. I also didn't talk about it, but the Dear Diary, when Pie Guy gives me a bad review, I begin to ooze green slime. That actually makes me giggle. I think that's funny.
At Ethanlin 3055 sent $5. Your review of Choir Boys is more iconic, but your review of SpongeBob You're Fired is better.
Yeah, I think that's a correct assessment. And then yeah, people were talking about we'll go in for a few more minutes here on stream. But people were talking about the weird controversy with SpongeBob You're Fired, where like allegedly it was making fun of people on food stamps or something. I don't know. Part of me kind of thinks that maybe maybe that was Nickelodeon themselves trying to strum up some controversy to get people interested in watching this horrible episode. Because there's really nothing about it that I don't know. Characters in cartoons get fired all the time. I don't think it's really that reflective of real life. But I mean, I'm also not going to defend that episode in any way. So if people want to come at it for that reason, that's fine with me. Yes. So next Sunday will be, yeah. So, all right. So let's lay out the schedule here, guys. Tomorrow at, I believe it's 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are going to be hanging out with Maxwell Adams and just asking him questions about Billy and Mandy and his career in the animation industry. If you have any questions, feel free to stop by and ask him. You know, and yeah, as I said, all of the super chats will go to him. So feel free to support someone that's an animator that made a lot of great stuff. Is currently not really seeing much work, unfortunately. The industry is in a bad place. I'll let him talk about it, but please show up tomorrow and support that. And then no, we won't have the all of the stream overlays tomorrow. That'll all be shut off. I'll read out the super chats to him. That way we can kind of have it be a little less awkward than him getting interrupted by that. So Could I interview CH Greenblatt? Boy, I wish. CH Greenblatt would be great. Maxwell recently said that he tried to get CH Greenblatt to kind of be on his YouTube channel, and as of right now, he kind of passed on it. But yeah, so we have that going on tomorrow. Next Sunday, we're going to do Season 9B review. And next Sunday, if you are a member of the Upper Crust, the membership for my channel, you will be able to see the Fiona and Cake review. Fingers crossed, as long as nothing crazy happens, it'll be out Sunday for those people in that membership, and then it'll be out the next Sunday for everyone else, the 31st. So yeah. It would be it would be very cool to interview and talk to other people in the animation industry. I would actually really love to do that, but I currently don't really have any connections. Maxwell Adams was someone who I posted a comment on one of his videos, and he emailed me and was interested. So, you know, I didn't want to be pushy or weird or whatever, so I just dropped him a comment, and he was into it. So, yeah, I don't really have any way of contacting anyone else in the industry. But if anyone has any connections and wants to kind of throw it out there, I would be very happy to interview some other people. I think that would be a lot of fun. Probably not Butch Hartman. All right, everyone. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this stream. Sorry about the technical difficulties. If you're watching the video version, then you won't know about any of that, and that'll be great. But yeah, sorry about the technical difficulties. I'm glad we were able to figure it all out, because yeah, that was a major pain in the neck. And as it turns out, it was only a few settings I had to change to get it fixed. And you guys tell me, but I think the stream ran completely fine this time. I think everything was buttery smooth and great, so that was cool. But yeah, so with that, Pie Guy Rules out.